The Vanier Cup, the symbol of Canadian University football supremacy. A national sports icon that stands as one of the great trophies in this country. The Vanier Cup represents excellence in amateur sport. The game began back in 1965 when U of T defeated Alberta 14-7. Jerry Sternberg was the game's MVP.
As you can recollect, it was called Save the Children College Bowls. I think in participating, we were helping the underprivileged. And for me, it was, as I said, competing in another game, and it was the biggest championship game you could be in. So it was for the college supremacy. In that way, it was big to me.
The greatest Vanier Cup game was the 1986 thriller between Western and UBC that went down to the wire.
Well, it was a second down play, and there were 8 seconds left in the game. And as we said, we sent Craig Keller in with pass 33, which was a quick post by the wide receiver and an arrow by the inside receiver with a 2-step drop by the quarterback. Eric Pitato took the 2-step drop and fired the ball to Rob Ross, who juggled it momentarily and then stepped into the end zone and held onto it for the touchdown.
The Vanier's biggest change was last year when the game moved to the Sky Dome and Western romped to an easy win. Tyrone Williams was the MVP.
She was just in awe of the place because first time walking in as a player was, I guess, kind of different from the average person walking in who usually probably walks in as a spectator. And you know, that was my first time in the dome, so I was looking around trying to explore all of the dome, looking around the stands and stuff, and the big jumbotron and everything. And also, we're trying to concentrate on the practice there, so it was pretty difficult. But it was pretty good the first day because we didn't do too much in practice, so it was kind of like taking the dome and just, you know, kind of get used to the fact that we were playing there. It was really great.
The move to the Sky Dome has brought university football to its rightful place, front and center in the minds of Canadian sports fans.
So as a result of the Vanier Cup, and because of the fact that now it's in the Sky Dome and it's televised nationally, as it has been for some years, it is obviously a tremendous goal and a sense of achievement to being able to win it. And it makes people in British Columbia and so on feel that they're identified with a national championship as well, which was something that I don't think existed before. So that's what it kind of means to me, is it's made people in my hometown and where we live totally aware of a great achievement from a national standpoint.
Today, it's the 26th renewal for Canada's greatest amateur prize. It's the Saskatchewan Huskies versus St. Mary's Huskies for the Vanier Cup, right here on TSN. Live on TSN, it's a football tradition, a tradition that dreams are made of. This is the 26th annual Vanier Cup. Today, the Saskatchewan Huskies take on the St. Mary's Huskies. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Passport International Automobiles. We know what you really want. Also by Labatt's. By London Life. Imagine the power of Freedom 55. And by Esso Associates and Imperial Oil. You're on your way with Esso. Last week's national semifinals really were a tale of two bowls. The Churchill Bowl was played in high gear, total domination by Saskatchewan. They showcased speed in the person of running back Dwayne Dimtrishan. A 74-yard burst through the heart of Bishop's defense, 10-3 for the Huskies. Agility, highlighted by Defensive Player of the Year nominee Kim Pazlowski. A spectacular 42-yard interception return for a touchdown put the Gators in a deep hole down 24-3. The key to the game, defense. Jason Hewell's 30-yard pickoff for a touchdown buried Bishops and sent Saskatchewan on to the Vanier Cup for the second year in a row, steamrolling Bishops 41-13. The Atlantic Bowl, by contrast, was played as if in slow motion, accentuating the talents of both teams. The nerve of Chris Flynn, darting amongst Mustang defenders, walking a tightrope between brilliance and disaster, and somehow always coming up with the right answer. The Atlantic Bowl had magic, including plays that Houdini would have tipped his hat to. The grandest of them all was the St. Mary's Fumble-Rooski that mesmerized everyone in the stadium. But when all was said and done, this was the stuff where heroes deliver and legends are born. 3 times the best player in the country, never played in the country's biggest game. Chris Flynn had the weight of the entire East Coast on his shoulders, and with the game on the line, Chris Flynn answered the call. St. Mary's was going to the national final thanks to a fairy tale finish from a real-life legend. Oh yes, it truly was a tale of 2 bowls on the way to 1 national final. The tale continues today. Hi everybody, welcome to Skydome in Toronto. I'm Michael Landsberg. A great matchup. 3 words that are maybe the most overused in all of sports. You hear them tossed out all the time, even flippantly, but today we'll stand by it. This really is a great matchup. On one hand, you have the best defense in the nation in the Saskatchewan Huskies. On the other hand, you have the best offense with St. Mary's. With Saskatchewan, you've got a team that was here last year and vowed to be back. With St. Mary's, you've got a team that was here 2 years ago. And oh yeah, add to all of that the fact that you have the most dynamic, most exciting college football player ever in 3-time Heck Crichton Award winner Chris Flynn. And you really do have a great matchup. We're glad you're with us today. We think that it'll be a thrilling afternoon, and we welcome our color commentator today, Jamie Bone. Jamie, you have played in a couple of Vanier Cups. You know what these guys are feeling, all the tension and excitement. What are they feeling moments before the game?
Well, Michael, there's a real fine line between anticipation and anxiety, and it really is a team that can get rid of the anxiety, the anxiousness of the moment, and be more anticipatory of saying, hey, listen, we're ready to go, we're pumped up to go, we're not going to worry about all the pressure. You look at these 2 teams, Chris Flynn has been under pressure his whole career at St. Mary's. He's been under a national microscope in terms of the media are concerned. He thrives on pressure. He loves it. The more difficult the situation is for him, the more he likes it. We saw that last week in the last minute of the Atlantic Bowl game when he rallied to beat Western. On the other hand, you take a look at Saskatchewan. A year ago when they came into the building, the Skydome, they looked around. They were in a little bit in awe of the place. They couldn't quite get themselves focused. They were really caught up with all of the functions of the week, and they were a little bit stressed out when the game started. So it's really going to be interesting today to see how both of these teams deal with it, but I don't think pressure will be a major problem this afternoon.
You're looking at a Vanier Cup tradition. It's the parade of colors. Each of the 24 schools is represented here today, some by more than others. St. Mary's University, of course, playing in the game, has more people here, and all of them will parade across the field. It's really a nice tradition. Oh,
it's an excellent tradition. I think it's very nice to get the alumni back involved in the Vanier Cup. I think for years they really try to market it hard to the students, but now they're saying, hey, we should get all the alumni back because they are really, there's more alumni than there are actually students in Canada, so why not get them back involved?
Different crowd here this year than last year. Last year the Western Mustangs were playing against Saskatchewan, and this was very much a Western crowd. London, Ontario is just a couple of hour drive from Toronto, and it was dominated by Western fans, but this year it's a long way for both St. Mary's and Saskatchewan.
It is, but one advantage St. Mary's might have is there are a lot of transplanted Maritimers living in Toronto, and I'm one of them. I'm from Halifax and now living here in Toronto. So there will be a lot of those fans, I think, attending this football game.
You're getting a feeling for what this event is about. This is an event not like the Grey Cup, not like the Super Bowl. It's an event all unto itself. It's different, and yes, what it is about is collegiate sport, and you're getting a feeling for what that is about in the Parade of Colors, which is taking place right now. As we get ready for game time, we are about 7 or 8 minutes away from the kickoff of the Vanier Cup. Now, you were talking about pressure. I wonder what will happen if Saskatchewan has the ball last down by 5 points, like St. Mary's was last week against Western. Chris Flynn answered all questions, and so did the entire offense. They have what it takes to come back and win a game. I don't know if we can say that yet about Saskatchewan.
Well, I think we can say that about Saskatchewan. We did a game earlier this year when they were playing University of British Columbia. They were down 25-9 with 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and they rallied. And how they rallied, it was their quarterback as well, David Earl. He took a quarterback sneak 70 yards for a touchdown and shocked everybody in Husky Stadium. So I think they had the capabilities of coming back.
We can only hope that it'll come down to the last second and some kind of heroics like that. Yes, game time is moments away. Let's get the introductions of the players from John Hinnon, the stadium announcer here at Skydome.
And now we introduce the two teams in today's 26th Vanier Cup Championship game. Presenting the starting defensive unit for the 1990 Atlantic Bowl champions, the St. Mary's University Huskies. At left end, number 79, Noah Cantor. At left tackle, number 51, Paul Tonnett. At right tackle, number 66, Rob McCutcheon. At right end, number 63, Todd Barter. The outside linebacker, number 58, Dwayne Grosso. The middle linebacker, number 43, Gus Karazakis. The outside linebacker, number 65, Brian Johnson. The left cornerback, number 8, Ken Walcott. The right cornerback, number 25, David Houston. Defensive halfback, number 24, Andre Williams. Defensive halfback, number 14, Don McIntosh. And the rover, number 10, Trevor Burke. Now let's welcome head coach Larry Utek and all the members of the St. Mary's University Huskies. And now presenting the starting offensive unit for the 1990 Churchill Bowl champions, the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. At center, number 60, Ray Weens. At left guard, number 44, Cal Hobbs. At right guard, number 64, Rod Weismeister. At left tackle, number 57, Brian Elton. At right tackle, number 62, Ryan Russell. At tight end, number 76, Kelvin Sander. At slot back, number 20, Mark Olson. At fullback, number 32, Rob Simchuk. At halfback, number 21, Dwayne Dimitrescu. At split end, number 10, Dan Farthing. At flanker, number 71, Kerry Prokop. At quarterback, number 8, David Earl. And the head coach, Brian Towers, and the other members of the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. The officials for today's game, the referee, number 13, Brian Davis from Winnipeg. The line umpire from Fredericton, number 22, Ray Muir. The back umpire from Ottawa, number 38,
Saskatchewan Huskies vowed last year that they would be back here, and in fact, they made good on their prediction. As you take a look at the officials for today's game, Brian Davis is the head referee. He is from Winnipeg. The line umpire is Ray Muir from Fredericton, New Brunswick. The back umpire is Maurice Lachance from Ottawa. The back judge is Tom Smola from Kitchener. Hans Vanderdoe from White Rock, British Columbia is the line judge. The head linesman is number 26, Peter Eady from Moncton, New Brunswick. So there's a cross-country makeup in the officiating crew for today's game.
Well, you want to talk about the contrast right now, Mike. When we saw David Earl last year at the end of this game, he was very sullen, he was teary-eyed, but boy, when he came running out in the introductions, he had a smile from ear to ear, so he's very excited to be in this football game.
A lot of pressure on him, and we'll find out what he can do momentarily. Right now, the national anthem from Mr. Louis Orr, who used to play fullback at the University of New Brunswick.
Terre de nos aïeux, ton grand ciel de fleurs glorieuses, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for
Yes, it feels like football, and it should. This is the Vanier Cup, the championship game of the CIAU between the Saskatchewan Huskies and the St. Mary's Huskies. Saskatchewan will be the home team. There'll be a coin toss right now. This is more the ceremonial coin toss than anything. The toss was done earlier. Of course, we're indoors, so weather is not a factor. It doesn't really make any difference which end you take, but it's a question of whether you want to receive in the first half or the second half. Let's go now for the coin toss. Again, Brian Davis is the referee. He's from Winnipeg. St. Mary's was the winner of the coin toss, or made the call. It appears that Saskatchewan has won the coin toss. And let's see if they elect to kick or receive. Whatever they do, they'll do the opposite in the second half. Saskatchewan will receive, and St. Mary's will kick it off. So we'll see that Saskatchewan offense right away. You like what you saw from David Earl coming out? Now, I know that you can't get a whole lot from it, but you felt as though you liked the look in his eye.
Well, sometimes when you see players coming into big games and there's a lot of pressure, they're very stone-faced. But David Earl came out with his big smile on his face like, hey, I'm glad to be back here again. And hopefully, on his behalf, he's going to make it a different ending than it was a year ago. So that's kind of nice. It means that he's relaxed and he realizes there really isn't much pressure on him. The pressure has to be on Chris Flynn, as it has been since he first arrived at St. Mary's 4 years ago.
Well, David Earl didn't have a great game last year in the Vanier Cup, but I don't know whether you can point to him as a reason for the loss. Western did such a great job defensively. And you'll hear the comments from the Western coach, Larry Haler. He's on our broadcast team. He's in the Sightlines restaurant along with Leif Pettersson as you take a look at some last-minute instructions from Brian Tauris to his Saskatchewan Huskies. They're a veteran team. They probably won't be back next year. Same thing for St. Mary's, so it's all or nothing today. Both of those schools will undergo rebuilding programs. More St. Mary's than the other as you take a look at the ceremonial kickoff. Ray Natishin, Right Honorable Ray Natishin, is the Governor General of Canada. He'll do the holding here. Apparently he was supposed to kick, but he's got a sore leg, so he was doubtful all week, and he in fact will not be the kicker. Ray Natishin will do the holding for Gordon Cunningham. He is the president and CEO of London Life. They have played such a big factor in the Vanier Cup as major sponsors. They've done a lot for the Vanier Cup, and he will do the ceremonial kickoff as we get ready for the real kickoff. Was he moving him back or forward? I think the way he was waving him was moving Trevor Burke in a little bit closer. Let's see what Gordon Cunningham can do. Again, this is the ceremonial kickoff from Gordon Cunningham. The record in Vanier Cups of ceremonial kickoffs is, I believe, 35 yards. Let's see if he can outdo that. Actually, it's a great kick. Way down there, and that is about 35 yards. Nice one from Gordon Cunningham to get us started. We're live from the Sky Dome as we wait for the opening kickoff between the Huskies and the St. Mary's Huskies. Saskatchewan will receive. We'll get a chance to see David Earl, and we'll get a chance to see what the offense can do. Keep in mind, they've got an explosive receiver in Dan Farthing, but getting him the ball has been a problem. It's the job of that man to do it. We'll see if he can when we return to the opening kickoff. Welcome back to the Sky Dome, everybody. These teams have never met before. The Saskatchewan Huskies from the west, the St. Mary's Huskies from the east, but they clash today in the Vanier Cup. And Saskatchewan, you would think, will get the ball first, although St. Mary's historically has a tradition of pulling out gadget plays. We saw the Fumble-Ruski against Western.
They probably have more gadget plays in their special teams than any CIAU team. We saw that Bomber-Ruski last week. We saw the short kickoff against Acadia. They have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, a lot of gadgets. But I think they're going to try and kick it away, have their defense hold, and then get the ball to Chris Flynn.
They're kicking the ball deep. David Sykes is to two. Good return men. Dwayne Dimtrition, number 21, and Errol Brown. 3 returns for touchdowns on punts. And they kick it away from Brown and go to Dimtrition at the 18-yard line as we're underway in the Vanier Cup. And Dimtrition finds a nice hole to the left side. He got a good block from Cal Hobbs, who's a starting guard. Hobbs will line up in front of David Earl, who has struggled in the postseason, 0 for 6 against UBC. Not a lot better against Bishops last week, but he can run, he can pass. He just has to put it all together, and we'll see if he can. But Jamie says he likes the look in David Earl's eyes as we get set to go. Earl will have Simchuk and Dimtrition behind him. They are basically a balanced offense. They threw the ball about 54% of the time, so you really don't know what they're going to do. The best receiver is Dan Farthing. He's wide to the left, and that is Dwayne Dimtrition. He follows Simchuk, but St. Mary's does a nice job stringing it out, and they do that very well, as evidenced last week against the Western Mustangs. Okay, let's set the rest of the offense for Saskatchewan for you. The offensive line, big and veteran. They have one first-year player, and all the rest have played at least 3 years. Brian Ultim is a first-year player, but he's 24 years of age, so there's some experience there. In behind that offensive line will be David Earl. Simchuk and Dimtrition are good runners. Dimtrition did the bulk of the carrying. He averaged 6.2 yards a carry. The receivers, Olsen and Sander, are pretty good. Farthing is outstanding. Prokop was basically ignored in the scheme of things. They have searched for another wide receiver to complement Dan Farthing. 2nd down and 8 for Saskatchewan, right at their own 45. Quick pass, and not a good one. It seemed as though Dimtrition broke in, and the pass went out.
Well, that's right. It looks like they're trying to take Dwayne Dimtrition that we said earlier, a little bit of motion. That's the same play that they scored big on last week against Bishops. But Dwayne Dimtrition was not looking for the ball because the coverage was such that Andre Williams stepped up and was covered.
Not a good start for the Saskatchewan offense. It really needs one. In terms of confidence, you have to wonder whether they're going to have it if they struggle for a while. Offensively, they weren't great against UBC. They were pretty good against Bishops. And here's the first kick of the game from Shane Reeder. And it goes to McDonald at his 25-yard line. They've got a wall set up to the left side. Oh, nice block in behind the play. McDonald out over midfield into Saskatchewan territory. And that's where Chris Flynn will operate from.
Well, Mikey, you talked about the wall, and he's going to the left side, and he just gets outside. Greg Mamer, you can see trying to chase him in a good block. Right there. It just kind of springs. Ian McDonald, we saw last week in the Atlantic Bowl, he had a couple of great kickoff returns, and he's showing he's a fine punt returner as well.
Ian McDonald was the man who did the returning. He'll go wide to the left in this sequence. Matt Nealon wide to the right. All-Canadian led the nation in receiving with 47 receptions and 12 touchdowns. And right away they look to Nealon. He broke in and out. Flynn watched him. He was well covered, but Chris Flynn shows you what he can do. He does not have to throw the ball to be effective. He picked up 9. It'll be second down and short. St. Mary's offensively put the best in the nation. Maybe the most unpredictable. They are stronger along the left side with McLean and Korecki. McLean is all-Canadian. Korecki was second team. McDonald, their center. Larry Haler will talk about him. He is undersized. As for the backfield, Flynn, Calvin Scott, and Sean Mungy had an excellent year with a 6.6 average. The receivers on the outside, best in the nation. Ian McDonald, number 80, and Matt Nealon, number 7. Second down and short. Here's Mungy, and Mungy tries to go outside, but Saskatchewan right there. And boy, they had 7, 8 men up at the line of scrimmage.
Well, that's how Saskatchewan want to play defense today. They have 5 people right up front, and then they bring the linebackers up. They're playing man covers, and Greg Mamer does a nice job. You'll see him. He's right in the corner of your screen, number 69. Doesn't get blocked, and then he kicks back inside, and he puts the big wrap on Mungy. And then Dan Dewar comes over to help finish it off.
Okay, the first play was, I think, an important one. He wanted the post corner pattern to Matt Nealon, and it was well covered.
It was well covered because you've got some pretty good people out there. Dean Iwanger was against Matt Nealon, and Brian Towers says Dean Iwanger, number 12, is their best man-to-man coverage person.
Dana Sagan kicks it to excellent return men, Dan Farthing and Errol Brown. This is not a good kick, and Farthing will field it at his 20. Actually, the 21, and he finds a little room to the outside and brings it out to the 32-yard line. That's where Saskatchewan will scrimmage the ball for the second time, and I think they have to feel just great about what happened. St. Mary's got the ball in great field position and couldn't do anything with it. Defensively, St. Mary's lines up like this. They've had maybe their best defensive year in a long time. Cantor, Tennant, and Bardo along the defensive line. You really have to like their linebackers. They'll switch from a 43 to a 34. When they line up with 4 linebackers, it's Brasso, Karazakis their best, Giliopoulos, and Johnson. The secondary, as Larry Haler said, maybe the most athletic in the country. First and 10, Earl pitches the ball to Dim Trishan, and Dim Trishan dipped the shoulder and sprung it outside for a nice game.
Well, you talk about St. Mary's playing that 30 defense. They're actually coming out today and playing the 40 with Alex Giliopoulos. As we take a look at Dwayne Dim Trishan, they're on the pitch outside. And there's a nice hit coming up here from who else but number 10, Trevor Burke of the St. Mary's Huskies. Puts a good lick on him right there.
Oh, that is a real lick. But did you notice Dim Trishan? He didn't go out of bounds there. He stuck his head in. He wanted to pick up the extra yard, and right now he's paying for it. He is still down. There's the collision, and you can see that Dim Trishan simply would not go out of bounds. And fortunately, he's up right now. And although he looks a bit wobbly, the good thing is that he's up and walking to the bench. Okay, here's the situation for Saskatchewan. It is second down and very short, actually less than a yard to go for the Huskies as we're just underway. 11:27 to play in the first quarter. Scoreless football game. Second possession for Saskatchewan. And Polzer has replaced him. He's the deep back in the eye. Earl keeps it himself, and Earl finds a bigger hole, I think, than he expected. Well, St. Mary's is not real big up front.
No, they're not very big, and they're outmatched and outweighed up front because you've got some pretty big guys. Leismaster 265. Now he's against Rob McCutcheon 66. He's only 250. Cal Hobbs and Ray Weens. Cal Hobbs is the smallest of all the linemen at 230 pounds. If you take a look at the quarterback sneak. Now that was the same play that Earl took at 70 yards against UBC on earlier this season. So that seems like a play in their repertoire, not just for short yardage.
First and 10, 51. Here's Polzer, his first carry of the game. And actually it was Simchuk who moved into the tailback's position. And he has a nice gain to the left side in behind Elton and Hobbs.
Now that is a play that they like to run Dimitrition on. It's the counter play when they pull both number 64 and 62, Rod Lesmeister, the right guard, and Ryan Russell. They get all the backfield motion going one way, and then they come back.
So Polzer replaces Dimitrition, but Polzer goes to fullback, and Simchuk goes to halfback. He's the deep back of the eye, second down and 2. They let the quarterback sneak, but it's Simchuk. And Simchuk, I thought was going to make it easily, and I think he did make it, but not with ease. He was brought down by Rob McCutcheon on another big collision.
And Gus Karazakis, the big middle linebacker for the St. Mary's Huskies, has had an outstanding year. As you can see, number 44, Cal Hobbs, pulls out, and they just try to power through. But a nice stick by, I believe it was, Rob McCutcheon, number 66.
First down, though, for Saskatchewan. 2 consecutive first downs on the ground. That's Gus Karazakis, 6'1", 226 out of Hamilton in his 4th year. Clearly his best year, where he's really assumed the role of leader. He's particularly effective on the run down at the goal line. He really excels in those short yardage key situations. 1st and 10, Saskatchewan, 53-yard line. Earl's got all kinds of time, and he throws over the middle, and Kevin Sander is wide open, and Earl threw it very nicely.
Well, that's going to have to get David Earl's confidence way up. I mean, St. Mary's are coming up on the outside receivers and playing them very tight. And you see Gus Karazakis dropping back, number 43, but Earl just throws a strike. Boom, right there to Kelvin Sander. And Gus Karazakis just was not quite deep enough in his zone or over far enough. That's a nice, tight spiral by David Earl to show the St. Mary's team that he in fact will throw the football down the field.
You know, he's got all the skills to do it. You could see his throwing arm and a nice release there, and he's also a terrific runner. He just hasn't put it all together. 1st and 10, Saskatchewan, and a nice drive. 2 first downs on the ground, and that one through the air to Kevin Sander, who was their leading receiver over the season with 21 catches. Sander is the man in motion, farthing wide to the left. And they go to the fullback closer. He slides on 1 tackle, but not another one. Brought down in the backfield by number 14, Don McIntosh.
Don McIntosh is the inside halfback on the right side. You're going to see number 14 come into your picture right there. This is a nice tackle. Boom.
Really a shoestring tackle. That's about all he had, with the strings on the shoes of Holzer, but McIntosh did the job, and as a result, a loss of 4. It's 2nd down and 14 for Saskatchewan. Right at the 35-yard line. Probably not in Giebert's range yet. Let's see if they try to pick up just a portion of it and get in field goal range. He wants Farthing deep, then he throws underneath, and he's got a completion. Olsen with a catch, and Olsen with a first down. Earl looked very sharp there. At Farthing all the way.
This is perfect because it was Ken Walcott and Cecil Curry were double covered on Dan Farthing, and then coming underneath Mark Olsen, and Earl makes the proper decision. Great pass for David Earl.
Now, did you see who made the tackle? That was David Houston. He's the cornerback on the other side. He had to come all the way across.
That's right. He has a man coverage.
Tough play, and he wasn't able to make it in time there. 1st and 10, Saskatchewan. A good drive right at the 15-yard line. Earl stops and throws, and it's underthrown. He wanted Dan Farthing. Farthing was actually pretty well covered by Andre Williams, who's now moved over to cornerback. Andre Williams on Dan Farthing.
Well, it's interesting. You know, one of the things that St. Mary's does not want to do on defense is play a lot of zone coverage. They haven't played it much all year, and they like to think that they can match up against anybody. Now, when Trevor Burke was out of the football game, it seemed that when Cecil Curry came in, they decided they were going to go a little bit zone, and they actually doubled up on the zone on Dan Farthing. That's when they were able to hit Mark Olsen underneath. So St. Mary's wants to try and stay in man coverage.
David Houston has moved to rover. Andre Williams moves to corner. 2nd and 10 for Saskatchewan. 7:52 to play in the 1st. Earl throws quickly. He's got Farthing, and let's see what he can do with it. Farthing, 5-yard line, inside the 5 to the 3. Brought down by David Houston, but not before a first down.
Well, Saskatchewan like to spread all the receivers out all over the field, and it gives David Earl a big selection of people, and he wants to get it to number 10, Dan Farthing, who was playing slot back earlier this year, but they put him out a wide receiver because he suffered a little bit of a shoulder injury, and they thought they could protect him a little bit better if he didn't have to block people inside.
Drive began at the 31-yard line, and it's now at the 4. 1st and goal for Saskatchewan. Olsen and Sander in motion. Here's Simchuk. Simchuk up the middle, and Simchuk is going to slide up and get in for the touchdown. Stopped initially, no whistle, and it's 6-0 Saskatchewan.
Wow, an impressive drive if you're a University of Saskatchewan fan from the 31-yard line all the way for the score. And there's his patented cartwheel, Rob Simchuk. Power football here. Rob Simchuk. Now, they don't quite wrap. It looks like he stopped right there, but they don't wrap his legs. He keeps his legs moving, and he slides off for the touchdown.
His patented cartwheel might be a little bit rusty. He didn't score a touchdown this year. Rob Simchuk gets into the end zone when it counts.
But he scored last week, and that's when he first showed it to the nation.
And if he looks a little older than some of the other players, there's good reason. He is. He's 27 years old, the oldest player on the field today. Saskatchewan has a much older team than St. Mary's. Reeder's convert attempt is up and good, and Saskatchewan leads it 7-0. Yes, it was a drive balanced with some running from Simchuk, some passing, and then Simchuk took it the rest of the way. Saskatchewan scores first. They lead it 7-0. Welcome back to Skydome. Saskatchewan leads it 7-0, but they did it without their #1 running back, Dwayne Dimtrishan. Gord Miller, what's the story with Dwayne?
Well, it smiles all around on the Saskatchewan bench, Michael, because Dimtrishan got his bell rung, but he's okay, and he's going to come back and play in the ball game. Give Saskatchewan credit, though. Without their #1 running back, they come down and score the game's first touchdown, so everyone's pretty happy down on the green and white side of the field.
Dimtrishan will be back, but he won't be back until they get the ball back. St. Mary's will get it, and if there's a key thing so far in this game, as Reeder gets set to kick it off, it was the defensive hold by Saskatchewan. St. Mary's returned that punt in the Saskatchewan territory, but they ran only 2 plays. Here's Sean Monge from his 11-yard line. And Saskatchewan gets down better that time. First guy down was number 40, Elaine Francis, and the return is only 14, but there is a penalty marker down. I'd imagine that Saskatchewan left early, judging from where it is. McCutcheon is an important player on that team.
19 Saskatchewan, first down.
Unnecessary roughness is called against Saskatchewan on Phil Giebert. And the unnecessary roughness came way upfield. That flag was at midfield.
Well, Phil Giebert is a very aggressive football player, and a little bit of extracurricular activity on his behalf after the ball was kicked. If we take a look at Phil in the defensive huddle, an All-Canadian in 1989, did not make the team this year, but nevertheless, he still had 4 interceptions, was a #1 tackler on that Husky defense with 36, and is finishing up his Master's in Business Administration at U of S.
In the true sense of the word, it was a scoring drive balanced with running from Simchuk and some nice passing from Earl. Key receptions by Farthing, Sander, and Olsen. It was 10 plays, 4 of them on the ground, 6 through the air. It ate up 4 minutes and 44 seconds. Most of all, it gave Saskatchewan a 7-0 lead. And when you talk about the young players and how emotional they are about a game like this, if you're a coach, you really got to love the fact that your team scores first.
Oh, you have to. When you take a look at Saskatchewan's defense as well in this situation, you talked about how many years experience they have. If you take them all as a group, they have 4 1/4 years experience on average on defense, where St. Mary's offensively only has 3 years. They were in this game a year ago. They know what to expect. And sometimes they are going to come out initially in this game and be ready to play. St. Mary's still might be a little bit in awe of the place, but they're going to settle down. But then again, Chris Flynn has only had the ball for one series.
Okay, I'm Michael Landsberg along with Jamie Bone. Gord Miller is on the field, and Leif Pedersen and Larry Haler are in the Sightlines restaurant. Let's go there now.
Well, Michael, you know, it's interesting. In any game I've seen quarterback David Earl play, if he gets off to a good start, he can be in for a great afternoon, and that was a beautiful drive he put together.
Yeah, a great drive. I think he came out and made a great pass on the sprint when they double covered outside, and he hit the receiver inside. Double up on Farthing. He was patient enough and poised enough to come off inside and throw the ball and force the safety to come up and make the play. And I think one of the things that's happened early, obviously, is Burke has been hurt. They've had to move Houston 25 into the middle, and they've had to move Williams out to the corner. And when they got the touchdown, they went into a no-back set, and they forced the safety coverage on Farthing, and they didn't get it. Yeah. Houston didn't pick it up quickly enough, and what happened is Earl made a great read, hit the one open guy, and, you know, got the big first down that led to the touchdown. Great confidence builder for David.
Boy, is it ever. And you know what I like is the quarterback, he spread the ball around. Sander, Farthing, Olsen, they all touched it. So Saskatchewan, Mike, they're off to a great start.
That's a good look at the view that they get of the field in the Sightlines restaurant. Really is a neat place, this Skydome. It's the only place I know where you can sit down and have something to eat and watch the game. As you look at Rob McCutcheon helped off the field, and he's really getting some help. So McCutcheon certainly has to be a question mark for the rest of this game. Okay, back to the action. Flynn with his first completion, or pretty close to one. Matt Nealon dropped the ball. Iwanger was there, provided pretty good coverage. Now we'll keep an eye on Chris Flynn very closely. He's got a shoulder injury. There's no question about it. Saskatchewan defense lines up like this, the best in the nation. Scott Hunseth, Kalmakoff, and Dutton, just a great defensive line. Kalmakoff can dominate a center, especially a smaller one. Mamer led the nation in sacks with 7. Lee Paslowski was all-Canadian, and Bistro also a good pass rusher. And here's the secondary. Brown, Iwanger on the corners, Dewar, Huel, and Giebert in the middle. And they average over 4 years of experience. Screen pass from Flynn to Mongie, but it's well read by Saskatchewan. Mongie will have to try to do it on his own, and he's not going to do it. 4 plays, no first downs for St. Mary's.
Well, you know, we talked coming into this broadcast that one thing that Saskatchewan on defense will not be intimidated by would be Chris Flynn. And the reason they would not be is because they played against some pretty good quarterbacks in their conference this year. You see the screen, they set it up, but they do a nice job downfield on keeping the proper leverage. You see Iwanger comes up here, and then he forces him back inside, and there's just nowhere to run.
Now, that was a play that Western had a lot of trouble with. Mongie on the screen, as maybe Larry Haler will talk about why they had trouble with it, but clearly Saskatchewan didn't there, and they had the benefit of seeing what Mongie did against Western last week in the films. It seems as though Saskatchewan is really ready to play. They have the right game plan, at least they have defensively so far, and offensively. Sagan's second kick, his first one wasn't good, but this one is. Brown will have some room to return it. He's got some speed and some room to the outside. Errol Brown, he can fly, and he's out over the 35 to the 37-yard line. Looked like a bigger return was on the way than was.
Well, Errol Brown, they want to try and keep the ball away from him because he had 3 touchdowns this year. The longest one was 80 yards. This is the nice catch on the fly. They're trying to kick it away from him. But he's got great speed. He's in the Canada Games in 100 meters, and a nice tackle
by Trevor Burke. So that's big news all around. Not only did he make what was a saving tackle, but also he's back in the game.
But Trevor Burke still looks a little tender. He seems to be on his toes out there when he's getting back in the defensive secondary.
You may not mind if your quarterback's a bit tender. You don't want a rover who's tender, and Burke seems to be right now. 1st and 10 Saskatchewan, 37-yard line. Big hole, Simchak barrels up the middle, and he's got 8. It'll be 2nd down and 2.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, Saskatchewan are getting off of the football. They are just getting off and getting into people and creating vertical seams in the field. And Simchak does a nice job of reading that and cutting back inside.
Got to be a big boost for a team when you've got a 5th-year player, 27 years old, that can move into the starting tailback position. Simchak plays fullback when Dentrition's in there, but he's not really a fullback or a tailback, one of those tweeners. And he's a tailback right now, and 2nd down and a little bit less than 2. 5:09 to play in the first quarter. Here's Simchak, 1st down. 1st down real easy. I mean, he was 8 yards into the secondary before anybody touched him.
I'll tell you, they're just doing a heck of a job right now, blowing people off the ball. Rod Lesmeister. Now, Rob McCutcheon is out of there on St. Mary's defense. He's just going to come straight at you. Now, Gus Karazakis over pursues it, and the center blocks him off, Ray Weens. And then Simchak, with a good vision, cuts it back inside.
Now, last week, St. Mary's did a very nice job of stopping the Western trap game. They were strong in the middle. So far, it's a different look from Saskatchewan, and it has certainly worked very well for the Huskies. Saskatchewan, that is. Right at midfield, 1st and 10, Simchak. It's a little tougher going this time, but he still picks up a little more than 5. It'll be 2nd down in the short 5.
And you can tell Brian Towers would be very happy for this to continue, to have his offense pound away at St. Mary's, not to allow Chris Flynn to get a chance to stay on the field and make things happen. I mean, the only way to stop Chris Flynn is not give him the football, keep him on the sidelines.
Well, he's only run 4 plays. He's thrown 2 passes. And he has 1 completion on the screen pass. 2nd down and 5. Everybody out of the backfield. St. Mary's comes with a rush, but they get it to Farthing, and he should make a 1st down. Dan Farthing, and he's going to try to turn the corner. Boy, you saw his athletic ability. There was no room there.
Well, when we talked about this at the beginning of the broadcast and all the motion, when you have a lot of motion and you're a man team, you have to do one thing. You have to be very skillful in bumping people. You have to say, off, off, we got to go back to zone. Karazakis was man coverage on Dan Farthing, if you can believe that. That's a great matchup if you're a Saskatchewan Huskies fan. So they're going to have to do some things differently on that Husky defense. With the St. Mary's side of the ball, they have to go to zone coverage. You cannot cover Dan Farthing with an inside linebacker.
David Houston's right in his face now. It's 1st and 10, 33-yard line. And here's Poles with the fullback up the middle. And he's brought down. Brian Johnson was the first man through. Now a UTEX team not starting the game the way they wanted to. Although last week they didn't start very well against Western. They were down 14-0 before the crowd had even filed its way in. So he has that to draw on. If you're watching UTEC for the first time, he doesn't really play much of a role in the on-field coaching. He leaves that up to his offensive coordinator, Bill Robinson, and his defensive coordinator as well. 2nd and 5. Simchuk in behind Polzer. He follows him, then cuts left, and he is short of the first down.
I'll tell you what, St. Mary's defensive line right now is on roller skates. I mean, they cannot stop the surge of Saskatchewan's offensive line. They're not doing anything fancy in that play. That's just push everybody back and create some type of a diagonal seam and let the running back read it.
3rd down, less than a yard to go for Saskatchewan. They already lead at 7-0 with 2.5 to play in the first quarter. Earl, they pitch it deep. That's an interesting call and not a very good one. I'm shocked that they would go with such a deep starting play.
I am too, because they were doing such a good job of getting people off of the ball. You just have to power it. You've got big people up front. You got Brian Eltham, 270. Ryan Russell, 250, 265. Les Meister. You take a look and try to pull the guard around, but see what a nice job there by Brian Johnson, number 65, the outside linebacker. He just splits the seam and gets in the backfield, but I'm surprised by the call.
Keep your heads up. Keep your heads up, Mike. Keep your heads up.
Keep your heads up is the word from Brian Towers. One might make the same suggestion to him as far as the play call is concerned. He lost a couple, and as a result, St. Mary's really dodges a big bullet. They've got the ball first down, 25-yard line. They still have yet to get a first down. McDonald with a catch and then turns it upfield. And he picked up 9. It'll be 2nd down and 1 with 2:02 to play.
Well, that's the kind of game we saw Chris Flynn play last week because he had the tender shoulder, the bruised rotator cuff. They wanted to throw the out. He's not going to throw the ball deep, and they just take the first down and get Chris Flynn's confidence up as well. Wants to complete a few balls down the field.
If he gets any more confidence, he's going to go out to Lake Ontario and try to walk across, and it's not frozen. And Flynn seemed to change something at the line of scrimmage there and picked up the first down. It was 2nd down and short, and historically that has not been a gimme for St. Mary's. They have tried to go deep at times. They are a team that you really can't figure them and say they're going to do this. They really don't show the same kinds of tendencies that other teams do.
No, because they do like to go play action pass on 2nd and short, because you know they're going to keep their offensive team on the field for 3rd down and go for the first down.
It's the only one that has a yard rushing for St. Mary's. And he got a yard there and a first down right at the 35-yard line. Everybody out of the backfield. And now he's going to run. And Saskatchewan strung it out nicely. I thought he might pull it down and throw the ball then.
I'll tell you, he should have thrown it because he had David Time wide open down the field, and that's kind of surprising because Chris Flynn usually has such great vision.
You know, I think that maybe he thought he was over the line of scrimmage when he pulls it down.
It might have been the case.
Yeah, he's not sure whether he's over the line of scrimmage, and as you say, he missed David Time, who was wide open downfield. But Saskatchewan did a nice job to string it out. Of course, he might say because they weren't covering the receivers. 2nd down and 9. Nealon wide to the right. He's the favorite target. And Flynn's looking that way, and now he's going to have to roll. And this is when it gets interesting. He throws, and Nealon dropped the ball. Nicely thrown by Chris Flynn, dropped by Matt Nealon. And that's the 2nd drop of the game for those St. Mary's wide receivers.
And this is not typical of Matt Nealon. I mean, Chris Flynn does a nice job of getting outside. And number 69, Greg Mamer, who wants to have contained, throws the ball right on the money. And that's unusual. Usually you see Matt Nealon trying to take that ball in his hands, not in his body. I think he thought the defender was a little bit closer to him than he actually was.
So it's been a tough first quarter for the St. Mary's offense. No running game at all. They haven't actually attempted a run other than Chris Flynn's. Nealon is the favorite receiver. He caught 47 during the year with 12 touchdowns.
Number 1 in the CIAU.
Sagan's 3rd kick. His last one was a really good one. He fields it on one hop and hits a nice one. A beauty to Errol Brown. Brown at his 30-yard line. Again, he returned 3 for touchdowns this year. And Brown's got a wall to the left. All kinds of blockers. 3 men out in front of Errol Brown. And Brown brings it down to the 50-yard line. Well set up return. 19 seconds to play in the first quarter. Saskatchewan leads it by 7, and they'll have the ball in St. Mary's territory when we return to the Vanier Cup at the Skydome. Injuries are always key so far. That has been the case so far today. Gordon Miller's down on the sidelines. What's the story with McCutcheon?
All right, Rob McCutcheon has a knee injury. The St. Mary's people won't say how serious it is, but it doesn't look like he'll be back, and that means Brad Chalmers draws into the lineup. More bad news for St. Mary's. They lose a starting defensive lineman. Interesting defensive note about the Saskatchewan Huskies. They're not trying to sack Chris Flynn. They're trying to contain him. And Brian Towers keeps telling his defensive linemen, stay in your lane, and when you get 8 yards upfield on the end, just stand there and make him throw from the pocket. The object is make him beat us with your arm, and they don't think Chris Flynn's arm is good enough to beat him right now.
Okay, Jamie, let's talk about that strategy. We've seen other teams try it. That's nothing new.
Well, that's right. I'll tell you what, I think Chris Flynn is at his best, not necessarily when he does run, but when he does scramble, because he doesn't have to have the great arm to make to hit the receiver that is wide open, and he creates so many things. I mean, he had it earlier. He had David Time wide open. He just didn't see him. 1st and 10, 50-yard line. Here's Simchuk, this time at fullback. Nutrition's back in the game, and he is close to a 1st down. So do you like the strategy or not? Well, I think it's working so far for Brian Towers, so he's going to stay with it. I mean, he's not going to go after Chris Flynn, and Chris Flynn has only shown that he's going to run the ball once. But different styles from different coaches, I guess. Some coaches say go after him. But one of the things I think that Brian Towers is going to do with his defensive line is that he's going to come after St. Mary's offensive line, because there are some interesting matchups there. Mike McDonald, 6'3", 215-pound center, is going to be against John Kalmakoff, a much bigger player, 6'2", 255.
You say they've done it well so far, and they have, but it takes 4 quarters to beat the St. Mary's Huskies as the Mustangs fell last week. Saskatchewan leads it by 7 after 1. Stay with us. What breed of Husky is that, you say? Is it a Saskatchewan Husky or a St. Mary's Husky? Well, he's happy now. He's got the green, and that means he's a Saskatchewan Husky. So is this guy, David Earl. He looked very sharp in that first quarter drive that led to a touchdown, particularly on the pass to Kelvin Sander when he stood in the pocket. It's 1st and 10. Here's Dimtrition, and Dimtrition has 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
St. Mary's a little bit concerned about the inside run the past series and what they were doing last play. They're running the inside trap. They have Alex Iliopoulos inside now with Gus Karazakis in that 44 stack. The 2 linebackers are stacked right over the tackles. Now we'll see what they do in 2nd down and 5 yards. Looks like they're going to go with the same defense.
4 down linemen, 4 linebackers, so they've taken a defensive back out. And they pitch it to Dimtrition, and Dimtrition sticks his head in there. He wasn't gun shy at all after taking a big hit, and he's got a 1st down.
And I'll tell you what, that's the right call, because when they're going into that 44 look inside with Iliopoulos and Karazakis, they bring Andre Williams up to play linebacker. Now, he's normally a defensive back, so he's playing linebacker. They want to run to his side.
And that's what they did. Kevin Sander had no trouble moving him out. Sanders number 76, Williams is number 21.
And you can see he come right up, and then he just slice it right through, and Karazakis has to come across, but not after. Dimtrition gets 5 yards.
And Williams lines up like a linebacker again to the left side. And let's see if they pitch it to the left. They fake left. And Earl throws, and he throws it very nicely to Olsen in the 1st down.
I'll tell you what, David Earl is playing with a lot of confidence right now. You can tell just by the way he's playing. He's not thinking of throwing the football. He's just getting back there and saying, I see the open guy, I'm going to drill it. Because he put some stuff in this football. Perfect spiral. And Mark Olsen, who they felt was a good enough player to play inside and put Dan Farthing outside, because he came in this year when Dan Farthing was injured.
2nd reception of the game from Olsen, and it's a 1st down at the 17-yard line. So Saskatchewan dominating so far early in the 2nd quarter. Dimtrition's the deep back with Simchuk in the backfield, and they pitch it that way where Andre Williams will try to turn it inside. Nice job by the cornerback on that side, coming up to shut down the play. Very good job by David Houston.
Well, you can see what Saskatchewan want to do whenever they see Andre Williams line up at that outside linebacker spot. And I'm sure that they've gotten that off of the film from last week, because when Western saw it, they tried to do the same thing.
That's got to be tough for Andre Williams. He's 6 feet 192, and he's used to playing in the secondary.
And he's playing against a guy at offensive tackle who's 6'3", 250. Not much of a contest.
But they did a reasonably good job stopping it there because of David Houston's play from the quarterback position, so it's 2nd and 7. Farthing wide to the left. That's where they're looking in the end zone. Dan Farthing, he's got his man beat, and he's got a touchdown.
he scored a touchdown last year, and now he's come back here again, and he scored his first in this game. Saskatchewan's second. And David Earl just stands back here so confidently in play-action pass. Man coverage. David Houston has him deep, and Dan Farthing gets behind him. Nice catch. You know, I think a lot of people underestimate Dan Farthing's speed. He seems to have that extra gear when he needs it to pump it in.
One of the things that St. Mary's did last week against Tyrone Williams, the big receiver of Western, was move Walcott all over the field to cover him. They have elected not to do that today, and they placed David Houston in the position of covering Farthing, and Farthing simply beat him there.
Well, I think that they felt that they had the people that could play against those people, because if you take a look at Saskatchewan's receivers this year, they've gone through a number of the wide receivers. Kerry Prokop is in there now. He did not play earlier in the year, and they've had a lot of changes.
But it's very much a similar situation to what they faced with Western. Farthing is maybe not quite as good as Tyrone, but some would say as good, and he has put his team up by 14 points.
Welcome back to the Sky Dome in Toronto, where the Saskatchewan Huskies have a 14-point lead here in the second quarter. Larry Haler, they've had everything pretty much their own way, and once again another drive put together by David Earl.
Well, and give the Saskatchewan coaching staff great credit. St. Mary's has made some adjustments defensively to get into a 44. You know, those four linebackers, and they're going over there and they're attacking the real soft spots of the defense. And I mean, they're playing four in the secondary, and they're getting their people out in the right places.
Well, I think Saskatchewan's done everything nicely. Okay, Michael, back to you.
Well, as Larry Haler well knows, the St. Mary's Huskies can come back. Last week, his team, Western, was leading 14-0 after a lesser period of time than this, and they came back and actually led it at the half. They've got their work cut out for them against the best defense in the land. Here's Burke. And Saskatchewan does a good job of limiting his return. He's out to the 32-yard line where St. Mary's will begin. St. Mary's offense, we made a comment during commercial that they seem nervous, particularly the receivers, Nealon and McDonald.
I'll tell you what, it's tough when you come in here for the first time, and it's tough. Now, they should not be as nervous because they played in the Vanier Cup back in 1988, but granted, the surroundings were not the same. They were in Varsity Stadium. They had only a few people in the stands. Here, it's bigger.
Well, you heard Gord Miller say what the strategy was from Taurus. Don't pressure him. Just take away the lanes. Here's Mongi to the outside, and he's a good cutback runner, and he cut back for 6 there. It'll be second down and 4 or 5.
Now, this might be key for St. Mary's because Flynn's been trying to do it all himself right now, and granted, he is that type of a player that you want him to do a lot of things, but they did establish a run game this season, and it actually was quite a potent run game. I think Sean Mongi was averaging 6.7 yards a carry. And they felt that that helped because Chris Flynn now became a decoy in a lot of plays, and they could establish a run game. They have to drive the football to get back into the football game now.
He picked up 6 with second down and 4. And Flynn steps back, looks for Nealon. He's wide open. Not a great-looking pass, and it goes through the hands of Matt Nealon. Nealon probably should have had that ball, but that was a dying duck.
Well, it's a tough pass to throw. You're throwing from one hash all the way over to the other. It's a long pass, so they were talking about Flynn having the bad arm. And he has to keep his passes shorter.
I want a comment from you on Flynn in a second. Here's Saskatchewan scoring drive. Their second of the game, 4 on the ground, 2 through the air. The final one was through the air, 13 yards. David Earl to Dan Farthing, one of the best receivers in the nation. Now, Flynn's arm on that play really did not look healthy.
No, it didn't look healthy at all, and he had to throw it a long way. And so I'm sure that Larry Utek wants to keep him throwing the ball short as they did last week against Western. That was the key to the game.
Got to be easier to play defense, though, when you know that the guy can't throw that.
It really is a lot easier. And plus, you think, does Chris Flynn want to run the ball? And you got to be, if you're Larry Utek, you got to think, hey, I don't want my star quarterback to get hurt. He is suffering from a bruised shoulder as we see Dan Farthing take the punt return.
I'll tell you what, Sagan has come to play. He has kicked the ball very well. He lost the ball. St. Mary's should have it. They stripped him. And let's see, yes, they do. Maybe that's the break that they needed to turn it around.
Well, St. Mary's needed something to happen, and Greg Ferran, the offensive guard for St. Mary's, comes up with the football.
He simply stripped it from Dan Farthing.
See where Dan Farthing's carrying the ball? He's carrying it in the wrong hand. He should be carrying it in the right hand because all the pursuit's coming from the inside. And that's why that ball got fumbled.
Historically, Chris Flynn has killed you when you made mistakes like this.
Well, Greg Ferran does a nice job of stripping the ball, and that's exactly what he's trying to do.
He knew that somebody else had him wrapped up, so go for the ball. Let's see if St. Mary's can convert it into points. First and 10, 40-yard line, and Flynn's going to go to the air. And now he's going to run. And he's got 8 blockers in front of him over here if he wants to run. He stops and throws to Nealon at the 5. Touchdown! What a play by Chris Flynn!
We say why Chris Flynn is so dangerous. This is why. This is Flynn at his best. I mean, he makes so many people miss. I thought he was going to run it here, but a heads-up play. He sees Nealon downfield, and that is a tough throw. Quarterback rolling to the right, and a nice over-the-shoulder catch by Matt Nealon. Beats Errol Brown and gets into the end zone, and St. Mary's are on board. But it all started with that Greg Ferland turnover.
No surprise that Nealon would make a catch like that. He may have dropped a couple of early on, but Nealon will hold for the extra point attempt from David Sykes. He's as good as any receiver in the nation with 47 catches to lead the country. Had a little trouble getting it down, but he did. And it's a 14-7 football game. And one of the things that we have to debate is the strategy of Saskatchewan along the defensive line there. Because, yes, they were rushing in their lanes, but Flynn had all kinds of time when he sprinted back the other way.
Well, that's right. I mean, Flynn goes out to the right. And then they all start to pursue out of that side. Okay, we're going to take a look. All these people right here, they're going to come off the ball, and Flynn's going to come out this way, and they're going to all go in that direction. Then Flynn is going to cut all the way back across the field and then throw it downfield to Matt Nealon. I mean, just look at his escapability right there. Bang, he just goes in, invites the rush, pops out. Now he skates back outside. And this is a heck of a throw with some pressure on him to throw the ball going to your left. Downfield to Matt Nealon for the touchdown.
It's a nice catch by Nealon as well.
Nice catch.
You know, there's something also philosophical about what Saskatchewan's doing. Here you have the most aggressive defense probably in the nation. And when you tell your guys not to go after the sack, are you taking some aggressiveness out of them that maybe should be there? Let's talk about that in a second as we watch Dim Trishan from his 15-yard line, and Dim Trishan is not going to get out to the 30-yard line.
Well, you're talking about the rush. I think one thing you don't want to do on defense is you don't want to change your style of play. You have to play what got you here, and what got Saskatchewan here was playing tough defense, going after the quarterback and sacking him. But I'll tell you what, Chris Flynn is a slippery character.
14-7, I love it. You know, Chris Flynn's played 4 years in the CIAU, and in his 4th year in the last game, they're still trying to figure out how to defend it.
And I'll tell you what, just when you thought that St. Mary's were down and out, they're down 14 points. Who brings them back to life? Who else? Number 1, Chris Flynn.
Okay, Saskatchewan now at its 27-yard line. 10 minutes to play in the second quarter. When they toss it, and Dim Trishan not there. Boy, great initial move by Noah Cantor, who was in the backfield as the pitch was being received.
Well, we always talk about how great Chris Flynn is in offense, but look what he does to the defense. He's got them pumped up right now, and they're back in this football game.
And again, they keep looking for Andre Williams, and wherever he is, they go there. Second down. And basically a full 10. Earl's been off to an outstanding start, but now he's under some pressure to try to keep it going, because he knows that if you give St. Mary's the momentum, they will kill you. Second and long. Looks for Olsen over the middle, and he throws it incomplete. Tried to find a seam in the zone, and pretty well covered, so they'll give it right back to Chris Flynn.
I'll say Mary's are doing some pretty nice things on defense. We saw them with the 40 defense, the 43, they went to the 44 stack. Now on sure passing situation, they're going to a 30 look, so they only have 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers. You know, 2 times this year, Chris Flynn threw for 6 touchdown passes in games. Truly a remarkable accomplishment.
Well, they look at touchdown to interception ratios, and he's got an incredible one. 27 touchdowns this year, just 7 interceptions. There's a nice kick from Shane Reeder. McDonald back at his 30. Looks to the outside, but he's not going to get there. He actually lost one on the return. Beautiful kick by Shane Reeder. Well punted game so far. St. Mary's will start at the 28-yard line.
Shane Reeder, backup quarterback, was the starting quarterback at one time earlier this season. Brian Towers feels that he's got 2 good quarterbacks on his squad. They battled it out. And Reeder is also a very fine punter.
Averaged more than 37 yards a kick on the regular season, and he's bettering that today. 8:45 to play in the first half. 28-yard line. Flynn gives the ball to Andre Williams, and Williams cuts it outside. And they try to strip him the ball, but he did a good job to pick up 7. It'll be 2nd down and 3. That's a play that I don't even know was in the playbook before this year, but they've used it a lot.
Well, it wasn't, because Bill Scollin was the slot back before, and they didn't run him all that much, but it's counter, and you can see that they pull number 42, Mike Korecki, and he kicks out. And then they bring the slot back inside, and then he tries to bounce it outside. But Dean Einwanger does a pretty nice job to slow him up enough to let Kim Pazlowski, 42, come in and make the tackle.
Anthony Williams, of course, made that last-second thrilling catch to beat the Western Mustangs 31-30 on an incredibly difficult over-the-shoulder catch. 2nd down and short. Here's Mongie going to get the first down. Good job by the left side of the offensive line. Richard McLean, Metrist nominee All-Canadian. Mike Korecki on the left side as well, 2nd-team All-Canadian.
Well, I'd be remiss if when you mentioned Richard McLean. See him on the left side, they pull out Korecki, try to get around to Shalmong. He just tries to see the little bit of space in there, and he's just going to knife it up and get the first down. He's not going to try and make anything big happen by getting outside.
What were you going to say about McLean?
I was going to say, well, he's from Queen Elizabeth High School, my old high school in Halifax. And interestingly enough, they had 3 All-Canadians selected this week. Tyrone Williams, Richard McLean, and also Randy Powell.
Okay, it's a first down, and I think a rough play penalty as well on Saskatchewan. A late hit. No, it's a holding call. I'm sorry. Oh, they're going to go both ways. Holding and then rough play. Or what is it? Let's find out.
Unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer, number 68, Saskatchewan. First down.
Well, he initially signaled to St. Mary's. I was sure that it would be against Briscoe, and it is. It was a 15-yard gain and another 15-yard on the penalty. 30 yards in total, and St. Mary's has got the ball at the 37-yard line. You can just feel this game changing, can't you?
Yeah, momentum has really gone to St. Mary's side right now, and Larry Utek has to be a little more relieved at this stage in the ball game than he was just a few minutes ago when he was looking at a 14-0 deficit.
Nealon goes wide to the right. Iwanger gives him a ton of room. Flynn looks to the right. Now rolls there, stops, throws back, and he's got time in the end zone, and Williams, and time may have deprived Williams at a chance at a touchdown.
Yeah, but he didn't know that Williams was there. But I'll tell you what, it didn't look like there was anything wrong with Chris Flynn's arm on that one. I mean, he gets flushed out of the pocket by Don Bistro, number 68, and then he just pumps it upfield.
Now watch number 33 in behind. He was waiting for the touchdown catch, and maybe if the analogy could be when a right fielder and a center fielder go for the ball, somebody's got to call it.
And you can just hear this big oh as all these fans were looking at it on the Jumbotron, seeing the exact same thing that you just saw.
Nealon, top of your screen, number 70, and again, Iwanger is well off, and you can't even see Iwanger in the picture. Flynn rolls out. Oh, does a beautiful job to fake one man. Then steps up and overthrows David Time.
I'll tell you what, he has that patented little look over his shoulder and then cut the other way, and he buys himself just enough time.
Sagan gets another bad snap. Lucky he's on artificial turf, makes it a little easier to field it. Errol Brown at his 8-yard line. Errol Brown gets outside or inside of Trevor Burke, and then weaves his way out over the 30-yard line, and the last 3 yards were through the air. Errol Brown brings him out to the 31, and that's where the Huskies of Saskatchewan will scrimmage when we return to Skydome. Welcome back to the Entertainment Center. I'm Michael Landsberg along with Jamie Bone. Saskatchewan by 7. Gord Miller is with Matt Nealon.
All right, thanks very much, gentlemen. Matt, were you guys a little tight in the first quarter?
Yeah, we've always been a slow starting team, but hopefully we're not used to playing in the cold weather, and all of a sudden we're playing in summer conditions. It's weird. It's hard to breathe, and just getting used to it right now.
A big turnover put you guys in position, and it seemed to really improve the confidence of this team.
Yeah, we needed a little boost, and we got off slow, but hopefully now we can keep it going.
All right, Matt, thanks very much. Good luck the rest of the way. Back upstairs to you guys.
Football's a funny game, right? The only sport where guys complain that it's a little too warm and a little too nice in here.
Well, I'm surprised. I mean, he's from Halifax, and I mean, they don't have anywhere near the severe weather that they have out in Saskatchewan, so you think it might be hurting Saskatchewan more, but he said it's hard to breathe. I think that's more anxiety than anything else due to the weather. I mean, in here it's beautiful. It's a dream to play in these kind of conditions.
Plenty of oxygen, I can tell you, that we're having no trouble breathing up here. 1st and 10 for Saskatchewan, so things didn't work out very well for St. Mary's. They punted from the 35-yard line, and Saskatchewan gets it at the 31. Earl throws and completes it, swings it out of the backfield, but a good job by Andre Williams to limit the game to only 3. They are attempting to pick on Andre Williams, but they did a good job there, and I think if you're going to pick on him, I guess you want to do it along the ground.
Well, I think if you want to pick on him as well, you want to run right at him because, you know, his strength of the game when he's playing in that outside linebacker spot is flowing hard to the football. He's going to use his speed and quickness and lateral movement. But you don't want to have a person that, as say, either Brian Elton, 270, trying to make a block on him, or even Kelvin Sander, the tight end for that matter, at 6'2" and 215.
2nd and 7 for Earl. They got to try to get some momentum back. He throws, and he's got a man open, but he overthrows him. Tough pass to throw to Dwayne Dimtrition.
Yeah, very tough pass, leaking him out of the backfield. St. Mary's again going to that 30 look. They're dropping all the linebackers off, and they have only rushing 3 people. You see Dimtrition lined up out as a slot back. He's just going straight up in that seam, and the ball is just thrown a little too far.
That is a very tough pass to throw, isn't it?
It is, and actually they have to throw it in that level 2 seam. And what we mean by that is that there's 3 levels. There's an underneath seam, the linebackers, line of scrimmage, between the linebackers and the deep secondary, and then level 3 behind the secondary. You have to push that secondary deep, hold underneath, and try and get it into that level 2.
Another nice spiral by Reeder. McDonald at his 35-yard line, penalty marker down, and so is McDonald. Fielded at the 35. They'll likely end up with it at the 20-yard line with 5:07 to play in the first half. So what you're saying, through all of that level 2, level 3, he's got to throw it earlier.
Yeah, I think so. Or either Dimtrition has to slow it down a little bit so he lets the outside receivers force the defensive backs deep. Because even Trevor Burke playing in that safety position,
number 79, St. Mary's,
has to stay as deep as the deepest receiver, and then you try and throw and hit somebody underneath him in that seam.
25-yard line is where St. Mary's will begin. Saskatchewan has done a pretty good job. Offensively, it was a great first quarter for David Earl, but St. Mary's has come back and certainly taken away the things that he was having success with. Good job so far, Saskatchewan defensively. Flynn's had the one big play, and now he's going to try to make another. He spins back. He's 20 yards deep, and now he goes even more. And it's picked off. Giebert read it perfectly. Giebert to the 23-yard line.
I'll tell you what, Phil Giebert was waiting and waiting and waiting and hoping that Flynn would throw it back across his body inside. And I think Chris is a little dejected because he knows that he should not throw the ball back inside. Because that's when you have everybody's coming the other way, and he throws it here before he goes out of bounds, and Giebert just comes up from his safety spot and makes the interception. Giebert's been around a long time, 5 years. He's a smart football player. And he won the battle of wits that time.
He followed Flynn to the left and all the way back to the right, and he just waited the right amount of time to pick it off, and he's given Saskatchewan excellent field position at the 24-yard line. They lead it 14-7. 4:18 to play. They're going to go with a reverse to Farthing, and he gets a block from Earl in behind. But still, he gets only to the line of scrimmage, and a penalty marker's down as well. So bad news for Saskatchewan on that play all along. Holding is the call against Saskatchewan.
Good block, push from the rear, 61, Saskatchewan. 2nd down repeated.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, Michael, is they're starting to dictate a little bit. Take a look at the reverse. They pitch it up to Dimtrition, and he gives it right back to Farthing. And a nice block there by David Earl, number 8. But it took a little long to develop, and St. Mary's did a very nice job with David Houston, number 25, coming across and making the tackle on Dan Farthing.
Referee said 2nd down repeated. It's 1st down repeated. 1st and 20. 33-yard line. Quick pass, Earl to Farthing. And he couldn't field it on a hop.
Well, let's get back to talking about St. Mary's defense. I think that they're getting Saskatchewan in situations 2nd and long, and now they're starting to dictate. They can do the things that they want to do on defense, and they're forcing Saskatchewan to get away from what they're doing very well in the first quarter, which was running the ball and getting 8 or 9 yards in first down.
The story of the first quarter was their ability, Saskatchewan's, to dominate the St. Mary's front 7.
Second quarter, it's been a different story. 3:34 to play in the second quarter. 2nd and 20. Wouldn't be surprised if they kept it on the ground. They fake it. Earl wants farthing deep, and he's got him open, but it is picked off by Trevor Burke. Penalties down in the backfield. Burke is down at the 20-yard line. I think it'll be holding against Saskatchewan.
Legal use of hands. 64 Saskatchewan. Steve Klein. First down.
Trevor Burke's 3rd interception in 2 weeks.
Well, bootleg action. They bring Earl back over here to the left. Now he's looking, I thought he was looking at farthing, but now he tries to throw it back inside, and he overthrows 76, Kelvin Sander, the tight end.
St. Mary's gets a break and picks up 4 on first down, and will be 2nd down and 6. Been a lot tougher for David Earl in this second quarter as far Earl's statistics so far. They look like this, and boy, he came out throwing the ball exceptionally well. Right now he is 7 of 12 for 94 yards and the 1 interception. But he's missed 3 of his last 4, and the 4th was an interception. 2nd and 5 for St. Mary's. Plenty of time left in the second quarter. 3 minutes right on. Let's see if Flynn throws it a little quicker than he did before. He does, and he lofts it out for McDonald. Brown's right there, but so is the pass. Errol Brown looked back, and he just never made a move on a well-thrown pass.
No, that was perfectly thrown pass. He threw it early enough, and he just had that fade outside. Then just takes that 3-step drop, and now he just pumps it up deep outside to number 80, Ian McDonald. And Errol Brown did not know where the football was in that play.
Ian McDonald with another big catch in his 5th year. He has had another fine season, 25 receptions. 1st and 10, Flynn. He's got a man open. It's Nealon, but it's over his head. That's actually the 2nd time that he's had difficulty throwing that pass.
Yeah, but this time he threw it a little too hard. He had the nice tight spiral on it. So it looks like his arm has loosened up a little bit as the game has gone on here in the first half. They have a lot of weapons on offense, St. Mary's. A lot of fine receivers.
Now, you saw Larry Utek's lips moving. Are we to interpret that he was talking there? He really doesn't say very much on the bench. Very quiet. He lets his coaches coach. 2nd and 10. They pitch it to Moggy. Interesting call. Not something they do very often, and not something they might do again. As he picked up only 5, it'll be 3rd and 5.
Well, they're trying to get Saskatchewan in a pass posture defense. 2nd down and 10. They thought they might try and run the football and sneak one by him, but it didn't work.
They've done a nice job on Kim Pazlowski, all-Canadian linebacker for Saskatchewan.
And Kim Pazlowski's had a heck of a year, and you consider he's not a very big guy. He's 5'11", 195 pounds, playing inside. If you take a look at Sean Mongie, a little off of his rushing totals for the year.
That's true. You know, you say that he doesn't have great size. 5'11", 195. He's actually smaller than Andre Williams, who's a defensive back, and you try to go at him because of his lack of size, playing outside linebacker.
But he's got some great people up front that protect him from the offensive lineman.
I'll tell you, Sagan has been like a shortstop. Every snap has been through the ground, but there's Trevor Burke. Very good coverage. The best of the game so far for St. Mary's. The return is only 5 with 2:05 to play. Saskatchewan now in a position where they need to move the ball. Huskies, after leading it by 14, now lead it by 7. Leaf is with Larry at sightlines.
Well, you know, Michael, I have the feeling it must be like a nightmare for Larry Haler to have to sit and watch Chris Flynn run all around the field and make big plays for 2 weeks in a row.
He's a great player, isn't he? It's deja vu. I mean, it looks a lot easier up here than it really does down on the field. I mean, I think I could design some things up here, Jamie, that might be not too bad, but down there it is a nightmare.
So all momentum has shifted just a little bit into St. Mary's favor here in the second quarter. Michael?
Well, my old coach giving me a shot there, I think, Michael.
Nothing new, right?
That's right. Nothing new.
Now, that might be the best sign of the day. A well-painted sign and 2 well-painted faces. Saskatchewan's got to move the ball. Here's the situation. They lead it by 7, 14-7, with 2:05 to play in the first half. But the clock is not moving, so if they have to punt, St. Mary's would get it back in great field position and have a chance to tie. Earl's missed 4 of his last 5. He sprints out, and he shows you his foot speed. You know, all you hear about is Chris Flynn's running ability, but he picked up an easy 9 there, almost 10.
Well, a week ago against Bishop, David Earl did the same thing, and he took the ball 47 yards against a pretty tough Bishop's defense, so he does have good wheels, but he's not the same type of quarterback that Chris Flynn is. He's not that scrambling type, innovative type of quarterback. He's in a system that is much more structured.
Now, he may have as good speed over 40 or 50 yards as Chris Flynn, but he doesn't have Flynn's unbelievable quickness. I think Brian Towers is probably pleased with the job that his team has done on Chris Flynn. Flynn had that one unbelievable play, but other than that, they've defensed it well.
Well, I mean, St. Mary's only has 7 points in the first half. I mean, they average 47 points a game, so they're well off of that mark.
Second down, less than a yard. Earl keeps it, and they have some method of getting David Earl more than the obligatory yard or a half yard on those plays.
That's right. It looks like he could break it every time he seems to run it.
More than a scoring drive here, I think Saskatchewan is thinking run some time off the clock and don't give Flynn a chance to grab the momentum back and tie this football game up. 1:53 and counting. That was an important first down. Towers is shuttling his wide receiver, so they're calling a lot of plays from the bench. Farthing wide to the right. Now everybody out of the backfield. And Earl is going to sprint to the outside. He's not even thinking pass. And Burke forces him out of bounds at the 31-yard line.
Michael, we were talking about the timeout a few minutes earlier that Saskatchewan took, and Gordon Miller down on the sidelines has just told us that the reason they took the timeout is because they had that toss play called on 2nd and 1, and they didn't want to run it again. They wanted to go with something a little safer, and they decided the quarterback sneak was the right call.
So what you're saying is that Towers called the toss play and Earl didn't like the call?
I guess so. That's what we're hearing from downstairs.
And you'd agree with David Earl?
I think so, and I think Brian Towers probably after the play agrees with David Earl as well, if that's exactly what happened.
The toss play was a disaster last time. 2nd down and 7. 1:32 to play. Still lots of time for St. Mary's if they can get it back, but Olsen's open over the middle, and Earl threw his best pass since the first quarter, and a penalty marker is down in the backfield. I think they may get another 15 yards.
I think they might. I think Alex Iliopoulos came in there and gave a shot to David Earl after he had drilled the football to Mark Olsen.
Unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer, number 44, St. Mary's. First down.
Boy, what a turnaround. A 20-yard gain on the pass to Olsen. 15 more, and now it's not St. Mary's getting the ball back. It's Saskatchewan getting some points.
And especially this time in the football game with a minute and 25 seconds left in the first half, you have to show great discipline on defense. You cannot give a team like Saskatchewan anything. That's a gift of 15.
And Earl threw it very nicely to Olsen. They've gone away from the running game, and they've gone to the passing game. Simchuk leaves the backfield, so everybody's gone. And they throw it to Simchuk wide open. Nobody out there to cover him. And Simchuk, twists his way to a first down. That was a nice move.
Well, St. Mary's are playing a little more zone right now because they're trying to protect their end of the field. And they're just leaking Simchuk out into that flat area, letting everybody drop off and getting him the ball and letting him turn upfield. You see the spear right here by Iliopoulos. You cannot lead with the head in football. Cannot be the initial point of contact.
But I don't think you can lead with anything that late in the play. The ball was well gone. Okay, Earl looks for Dan Farthing, then flips it out to Simchuk. This time Williams is there, but Simchuk breaks the tackle and tight ropes down the sidelines. What a play by Rob Simchuk.
And he gets out of bounds. Well, Rob Simchuk is not a big part of their offense when it comes to passing. He only caught 14 passes all season. But I'll tell you what, he dips his shoulder very nice there and shrugs off Andre Williams and then gives a good shot to Ken Walcott, number 8. Heck of a run by Rob Simchuk.
Simchuk in his 5th year, and I guess you don't have to say, it goes without saying that he'd love to finish up his career with a championship. First down, 13-yard line. Saskatchewan already up by 7. 57 seconds to play. The clock is stopped. This time Simchuk stays in the block, throws over the middle, and it's intercepted. Right into the hands of Gus Karazakis.
tough to win football games when you're turning the ball down in the other person's territory. He has a lot of time to throw, and Karazakis is right there. He obviously did not see him because he threw it right to him, and Dimtrishan has to come up and make the tackle. The interesting thing on that play is that they had Kevin Sander was man-to-man with Brian Johnson, a linebacker, but Earl just could not find him. And Gus Karazakis is reading David Earl's head. Steps in front. St. Mary's dodge a bullet.
And St. Mary's wants some points. They look to, is that McDonald? Yes, it was. He actually got his hands on the ball. And that was the first time that they showed that formation, McDonald and Nealon on the same side.
And that was nice coverage by Errol Brown because they were trying to run a post inside with Nealon, and then they take McDonald on a little bench out and up, hoping to influence Brown enough that he could not get back and take the proper angle and stop that play. But to Brown's credit, he did a nice job.
Gus Karazakis, one of those guys, actually, as an announcer, you can just say Gus and everybody knows who you're talking about. Flynn, he's in the end zone now. It's dangerous. Saskatchewan's got some speed. Chris, you better get rid of it. And he does. And it's out of bounds. But I think if you're Larry Utek, that's one of those times when you don't want your quarterback to be quite so gutsy.
Well, I think Chris showed great judgment in throwing the ball away once he escaped. Now, that would have been interesting because in the NFL, if he has something like that, is that in the grass? But they don't have that rule in college football, so Flynn could get outside. And he has McDonald downfield, and he just throws that one away.
He did have McDonald.
Now, this is a time when Saskatchewan, I think, should come after it because they haven't been able to get a clean snap back to Dana Sagan yet.
They've got to have to maybe find a way to get Errol Brown back in the game. No, they don't come after a rush. Sagan, another nice kick. He has kicked more spirals than his quarterback has thrown. And St. Mary's does a very nice job of stringing that out. You can see what it was. It was return right. But St. Mary's had it well covered. Brasseau and Burke were down there.
Trevor Burke, we keep mentioning his name, and another shoestring tackle. But one of the truly great players in CIAU football.
You know, that's an important play. They kick from their 13-yard line, and Saskatchewan has to scrimmage all the way back at their 50. Still 25 seconds to play, so that's an impressive job of kicking for Sagan, first of all, and then covering it.
No, he's done a nice job today because you say it always has to be a little bit of anxiety when the ball's bouncing back to you as a punter. But he hasn't let it bother him, and Saskatchewan haven't come after him.
23 seconds to play. Clark won't start until the snap of the ball. Earl throws, and he overthrows Simchuk, who was not covered on that play. There was no defender on Rob Simchuk.
No, he caught that one. He was going to go for a lot of yardage.
I'll tell you what, he would have got at least to the 40 and maybe more.
And then they're in field goal range, and Phil Giebert is a good enough field goal kicker that is well within his range. 19 seconds left in the first half. That's the hardest thing sometimes for a quarterback, Michael, when you come out and you see a receiver so wide open. You want to hand it to him, and you can't. You have to throw it to him. You know, you just want to take it. You want to be so dainty with it, and you can't play like that. You have to just put it right on the numbers.
2nd and 10. Earl's going to go to the air. He's got lots of time, and he throws, and Sander is overthrown, and then it falls at the feet of Blackburn. And with 15 seconds to play, Saskatchewan will be forced to kick it. I don't think I've ever been able to say this before with St. Mary's, but this is a defensive battle.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, they haven't been in very many tight football games with the exception of last week when they won by 1 point, but still there were a lot of points scored. You go back to the second game of the season in the AUAA for St. Mary's when they were beaten by Mount Allison University. They only scored 9 points in that football game, a game in which Mount Allison won 16-9.
Okay, now St. Mary's shows rush here. Only one man back. They're going to go after him, and they're not going to come close as Saskatchewan went on the fast snap and a good kick by Reeder. McDonald gets a crunching block by Matt Nealon. Nealon just leveled number 46, Kyle Dirksen. And that's not surprising considering the way Matt Nealon plays wide receiver. He is an aggressive player.
Well, Larry Utek said if he wasn't a very good wide receiver, he'd have him play linebacker because he loves to hit people.
Just 5 seconds to play. And I don't think anyone is assuming that Chris Flynn's simply going to go down on one knee and run it out. Although, that's what he's going to do. And actually, he's going to have to run another play. 3 seconds to play. I'm impressed with the Saskatchewan defense, the job they did, besides the 7 points, which is, of course, most important. They did a good job of taking away the big thing for Chris Flynn, so maybe they do have the right defensive strategy considering their personnel.
I think they do. It's worked out pretty well for them. They've held the most explosive offense in Canada at only 7 points in the first half.
But we've got a football game, no question about it. Saskatchewan led it 14-0 very quickly. Then the big turnover. Greg Ferrand stole the ball from Dan Farthing. Farthing coughed it up at the 35-yard line, and then Chris Flynn took over, scrambled around, and made a great toss to Matt Nealon. As a result, at the end of one half of play in Vanier Cup 26, the Saskatchewan Huskies, back for the second straight year, lead the St. Mary's Huskies by a score of 14-7. We've got a lot of things planned for the halftime, and we'll get to them when we return to the Sky Dome in Toronto. Welcome back to Sky Dome in Toronto. One half of football played, and it was a defensive battle in the first half. The Saskatchewan Huskies looked great in the first quarter. St. Mary's looked better in the second quarter. As a result, the Huskies lead it by 7. And the story of the first half is one team can look really good and do a lot of things well, but if you turn the ball over, it's hard to build up much of a lead. And that was the story in the first half. The statistics look like this. Saskatchewan dominant. 17 first downs to just 5 for St. Mary's. They outrushed them. They outpassed them, but they also out-turnovered them, and as a result, they lead it only by 7. That was really the story in the first half, Jamie.
Yeah, it really has been. If you take a look at Saskatchewan's defense, what they've done to St. Mary's, I mean, St. Mary's, during the year, they averaged 6.7 yards per rush. Today in the first half, they're only averaging 3.2, and per yards per attempt passing the ball was close to 10 yards during the season. Today it's only 7.5. So the defense has done a nice job for Saskatchewan, but really St. Mary's came on in that second quarter and took all the momentum away from Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's going to have to get back running the football again and establishing their physical superiority as they did in the first quarter to get back in this football game.
But defensively, Brian Towers has to feel very good about what his team did. They limited Chris Flynn to just 7 points and 5 first downs, but Flynn and St. Mary's will get the ball first. Trevor Burke at his 15-yard line. And Burke picks and weaves his way out to the 34-yard line where St. Mary's will begin. Final half of football for these two teams. Each one had hoped to be here before the season. I don't think it's a major surprise. Larry Utek's team has been driving for this. And Utek knows that he'll likely lose Chris Flynn and Matt Nealon and Ian McDonald and several others after this season. So he knows that, hey, if he's going to win a Vanier Cup in the near future, it better be today. Not typical Flynn statistics. Just 5 of 14 and only the 1 touchdown pass and 1 interception to go along with it. 34-yard line is where they begin. Mongie sprints outside, and he does a good job to pick up 7. It'll be second down and 3. He's a smart runner, you know. In the scheme of things, it's hard for him to be a star, but I think he may have star ability.
No, he does have star ability. We saw him earlier this year. He had a big game against St. FX, rushed for 160 yards in that contest. So he is a good back out of Clarkson Secondary School in Mississauga, actually coached by U of T's offensive line coach, Ray Zaremba.
Ian McDonald goes wide to the left, Matt Nealon wide to the right. Second down and short. And they pitch it to Mongie, and Mongie's got the first down. Boy, they like to run left in behind McLean and Korecki. Errol Brown went down late in the first half. What's the word on him, Gord?
Brown has a medial collateral knee sprain. That's a ligament in the knee. Now, the training staff says he will be out for at least the third quarter and possibly the rest of the game. Now, Jason Hewell, a rookie, draws in, and Matt Nealon, the outstanding wide receiver for St. Mary's, may be able to take advantage of that.
Huell is on McDonald, so they have made some shifts in there. They have actually changed the scheme of their secondary and swarming all over Anthony Williams. Big play there by John Kalmakoff. Now, as for St. Mary's, with their great season, they averaged on the ground 6.7 yards, half of that today. Average per pass completion is a little bit better today, but only on a limited number. As for the Churchill Bowl champs, Saskatchewan, on the season, they rushed the ball for 5.5 today, just over 5, and their average pass completion is very similar. So Saskatchewan about right on target, St. Mary's underneath it. Second down and 11. Flynn wants the screen to Mongie. 3 blockers in front. Let's see if they do their job. And they do, and so did Mongie, beating Jason Hewell. And he turns it inside, and he's still going. Sean Mongie with a gain of 20 and a first down.
Well, those obviously, these are the favorite kind of passes a quarterback likes to throw. Just does that little pump and gets it out to Sean Monge. They love to run the screen. It takes a lot of heat off of Chris Flynn, and a great block there on Mark Lupke. And then Monge gets outside, and Huell, who's now playing the corner, does not contain. But look at Sean Monge. I mean, he just keeps his feet going, has excellent balance. A big play for St. Mary's.
Nice screen pass. They worked it well against Western. They do it well to start the second half. Flynn comes up throwing, throws it to Nealon. Collision, and it's incomplete. Very, very well covered by Dean Iwanger.
Wow, did Dean Iwanger ever closing the ball hard? I mean, that's exactly how you play the quick slant in.
I mean, the collision here happens simultaneous with
instantly.
The ball.
Yeah, and Flynn drills it.
Yep.
But Iwanger, out of Holy Cross High School in Saskatoon, knocks the ball away.
McDonald wide to the left. And he's matched up there by Jason Huell, not a natural cornerback. Let's see if that's where they go. Flynn's going to scramble. Now he cuts back and he's got some room. Flynn should make the first down, and he is close to a first down. May have come up a yard short. Now here's how they're aligning the secondary. Larry Utek's team is looking at Jason Huell, one of the inside safeties, moving outside, and Mark Lupke playing inside.
Well, no one even can touch Chris Flynn. I mean, he's just an exceptional athlete. And he decides now he's going to take off with the football. Mark Lupke has to come up and make the hit along with Kim Pazlowski, the inside linebacker.
Okay, third down and a full yard to go. Tough for St. Mary's against this Saskatchewan defensive front that is very, very strong. And St. Mary's runs the toss to Monge, and they elect to go outside, and it is a good move. Monge keeps the feet driving. 20, 19-yard line.
To know in third down in one situation, who are they going to run to whose side? They're going to go over to Richard McLean's side, number 52, the All-Canadian. And you can see he's just manhandling Don Bristow, number 68. And Sean Monge just sneaks through. If it wasn't for Phil Giebert, it would have been a big play.
An impressive drive, basically all from Monge. Once on the screen pass for 20, and there on the ground for 18. First and 10 for St. Mary's. They go backside to Matt Nealon. He's got his man beat. And a diving attempt.
Well, from up here, it didn't look like he had to dive, so it looked like he might have caught his foot.
Yeah, I thought he tripped on that play. Just when he was going to bring it in, it looked like he fell. But that was a nice matchup, Nealon against Jason Huell. And Nealon beat him to the post. Let's see, does he fall here?
No, I think he tries to go for the dive, yeah. Just a little overthrown.
Nealon goes back top of your screen. That's where he spent most of the game. McDonald wide to the left, second and 10. Flynn wants the screen, and he's got Calvin Scott this time. And it's well set up. Scott inside the 10, and Calvin Scott has got a first down.
Well, you know what's kind of surprising about this, Michael, is that if you're Saskatchewan and you're saying, let's not go for the sack on Flynn, that people shouldn't be penetrating as hard because they're just sliding their backs outside in the screen and they get three people in front. And I mean, he's going downfield 10 yards before he meets anybody with an opposite color sweater on.
Scott seems to be hurting, but he did the job. He got it inside the 10 to the 8-yard line where St. Mary's has first and goal. They've got a chance to tie it. And again, McDonald wide to the left. He's number 80 at the bottom. Jason Huell, not a natural cornerback, covers him. Flynn looks for Matt Nealon in the end zone. He's got Nealon wide open. Touchdown. Post corner. They've lived on that play for 4 years.
One of the finest receivers in CIAU football and All-Canadian last year, again this year, and what a great move. I mean, he just sold Dean Iwanger on the post, and then he cut it back outside. And Flynn just laid it out there for him as he celebrates with the cameraman on the sideline. I mean, it's Matt Nealon all the way. And Dean Iwanger, who's no slouch in the coverage department, he's a great man-to-man coverer, was taught a little lesson on the post corner by Matt Nealon.
Well, he probably has not seen Matt Nealon as many times as you and I have. And Every time we've seen him, I think he scored a touchdown on post corner, and he did here, and it's his second touchdown of the game. And St. Mary's very smartly comes out and drives the ball down the field. The St. Mary's Huskies trailed it 14-0 at one time, but early in the third, this one's tied. All-Canadian, he's done it all in his time. He actually played high school football with Chris Flynn, so it looks like they're on the same page. There's good reason for that. Matt Nealon, 2 touchdowns today. He had 12 over the season. Leaf and Larry on sidelines. Let's go there now.
Well, thank you, Michael. A nice drive engineered by Chris Flynn. You know, we talk about his great scrambling ability, but what kind of impact does he really impose on that front for Saskatchewan?
Well, you're seeing it now. As a matter of fact, in the first half when they ran screens, Saskatchewan was on top of them so hard their offensive line couldn't get out to set the screen. Now in the second half, they come out and run screen great, and now you can see the Saskatchewan rush unit beginning to think, whoa, I can't get too hard here because they're hurting us. And so the impact that he's had right now has been significant, and it's a big factor in this football game at this moment.
Well, especially for Saskatchewan, when you think that the strength is rushing the passer, all of a sudden they've taken that strength away. Michael?
They've got a lot of strengths, this St. Mary's offense does. They love to go to the wide receivers, in particular Matt Nealon, but they can also throw screen passes. They showed last week against Western, and now in the second half here. Larry Haler says the ball gets set up by Chris Flynn. 20-yard line. And St. Mary's down very quickly to cover it. Dwayne Dimtrishan only 15 yards on the return, so the pressure is now on David Earl in the Saskatchewan offense to try to get back the momentum, because St. Mary's drove it down very impressively. Good balance, 4 on the ground, 6 through the air, the final 8 through the air on the post corner to Matt Nealon. It ate up almost 5 minutes, and as a result, there is 10:05 to play in the third quarter, and we're tied.
I bet you Matt Nealon's breathing a little bit easier now than he was in the first quarter. I bet you they're a lot more relaxed, at St. Mary's team. They're into the football game. So we take a look at Matt Nealon on the sidelines. But you have to give it to St. Mary's. Great character to come back from a 14-0 deficit.
They did it last week, and they did it today. Here's Dimtrishan, and Cantor slid in underneath number 79 and took the legs out from underneath him. And you can almost see from the reaction after these plays the confidence that St. Mary's is playing with now. They may have been intimidated early, but they're not now.
And if you look a little bit at Saskatchewan right now, they're all walking back to the huddle. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any oomph there.
You know, Chris Flynn has proven many times that he's a great leader. Now David Earl is going to have to do the same thing, because his team, as you say, is flat right now. The momentum is clearly on St. Mary's side, and he's got to try to get it back. Second down and 7. 38-yard line. Earl's going to go to the air, steps up, throws, and a nice pass, and he should have a first down depending on the spot. Yes, he does. Completes it to Olsen, and Olsen's been his favorite receiver.
Well, I can see why they had Dan Farthing inside for so many years, because they really are an inside passing team if you take a look at Saskatchewan. And David Earl does a nice job to find Mark Olsen, steps up and delivers it. You can tell Olsen, for a first-year player, does a nice job, knows exactly where the first down marker is, and makes sure that he gets enough yardage to keep the drive going.
Dan Farthing comes wide to the right. Ken Walcott's there. Walcott, an outstanding cornerback. They pitch it to Dimtrishan. St. Mary steps up and covers it soundly. McIntosh, number 14, is right there. St. Mary's at times comes up with so many men to the line of scrimmage that it's very difficult to run a play like that, and that was a good example of it. Their attitude is try to beat us with the pass, particularly against a team like Saskatchewan that likes to run the ball. They did it last week against Western. That was their attitude, and the Mustangs made them pay in the second half, but still there was that miracle comeback. Second down and 11 for Saskatchewan. Earl steps up, throws. He's got Farthing beating his man by 5 yards. Dan Farthing to the 25-yard line. Farthing simply beat Houston on the corner.
Well, that's a mix-up in coverage, because he was way behind Houston. I think they're in a zone coverage. We're going to take a look at it from up top. As David Earl throws it out, it's a good job by Earl to find him. And you see Houston chasing him down the field. McIntosh and Houston.
Now something has happened to St. Mary's. Ian McDonald, number 80, is in the football game.
Actually, that's right. It was Ian McDonald, number 80.
Ian McDonald, the wide receiver, is playing corner.
I'll tell you what, it didn't take long for them to find him. We did not see him come into the football game. They didn't take any time to go after him, and he got fried.
Surprised that they would put a guy like that on the corner and not move someone from the inside. Here's Earl dropping back to pass. He's got a man wide open. Prokop in the end zone, and it's overthrown. He went out and up on McDonald.
Oh, yeah, they're going after McDonald right now because they had McDonald twisted around. I think McDonald's lucky. He had a little bit of help coming over from inside, and David Earl threw the ball a little bit long. Didn't take long for them to find Ian McDonald.
It's not very often that you would put a guy, a wide receiver, in at corner. Usually you put him in at safety and slide somebody else outside because corner is the toughest place to play.
That's right, but I guess they feel that Ian McDonald has enough speed to play outside, but I'll tell you what, it's not only speed that you need outside, you have to have the pretty quick feet, and you have to get used to running backwards, not forwards.
Farthing's in the slot this time at the bottom of your screen. It just goes out of the picture. Olsen wide to the left. And Olsen was wide open. Farthing makes the catch. Farthing 20. Oh, stutter step. Almost a changeup from Dan Farthing. He was running full speed, then slowed down, and then turned on the jets, and he's got a first down.
Truly remarkable athlete. He was the CIAU Rookie of the Year. They just run hitch. One step drop outside and get it out to Farthing. Now watch Andre Williams come up. He just gives him that little juke, and then bang, he explodes outside. And he just pulls away from Williams. McIntosh has to come over from the other side of the field and help him make the tackle.
But the story right now is Ian McDonald playing cornerback. Olsen just ran right by him. Let's see if they go after Ian McDonald. That's where Dan Farthing is heading. And down this deep, it's tough to get any help. Ian McDonald, the lonely corner right now. Earl fakes. Earl's going to run. He breaks one tackle. David Earl to the 1-yard line and no farther. I think he was thinking run all the way there.
Yeah, it looked like it because he came outside, he saw the gap, and then he just shot up through it. And we said that David Earl has some pretty good speed, and he's not afraid to take off with the football. They did a nice job, St. Mary's, of jamming Kerry Prokop and not allowing him to get off the line of scrimmage. So David Earl takes it upon himself to try and get the TD.
Trevor Burke almost pried the ball loose.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You mentioned Trevor Burke. You would think that they would stick Trevor Burke outside of the corner because he played there last year and stick McDonald inside.
Tough to figure. Right now, it's not so much a question. Burke does move to corner on Farthing, but they likely won't look there. They'll likely just run the ball. Earl fakes, runs outside. He's going to have a tough time making it in. Another deep starting play kills a Saskatchewan drive, and now I don't think they've got much choice but to go for the field goal. He's back at the 4.
Well, that's a mix-up in the backfield. Looks like he wants to hand it off to Dwayne Dimtrition, but David Earl's not quite sure what's going on. He tries to take off with it, and actually it's interesting because Trevor Burke came off at Dan Farthing, and Farthing was standing in the end zone with no one near him. But
you're right. Boy, did Burke lay a hit on him. Is he an athlete? But that is very tough to figure. You make a good point. Trevor Burke played corner last year and played it very well. And you leave him inside and put McDonald outside where he was beaten badly, as you'd expect. I talked about the lack of depth on the part of St. Mary's, and it is certainly coming to play here. There's no question about that. They're going with a wide receiver in the secondary. Field goal attempt to put Saskatchewan up by 3 comes from the 11-yard line. It is up, and it is good. And the Saskatchewan Huskies answer the St. Mary's touchdown with a field goal of their own, and they lead it by a score of 17-14. And a reminder to stay tuned immediately following the game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you today by Apple Auto Glass. Defensive first half, 14-7 at the half, but a couple of possessions for these teams, and the offenses are rolling. St. Mary's has a touchdown, Saskatchewan's got a field goal, and we've got Gordon Miller on the sidelines.
The reason McDonald was in at corner is that David Houston had a groin pull, and he had to come out of the ball game. Now, McDonald goes to corner because he doesn't know the defense well enough to play inside. One more interesting note from the St. Mary's bench. I talked to Chris Flynn. At halftime, they made a key adjustment. They felt that they were getting into too much of a hole by not getting yards on first down. So by being more patient on first down, they're taking what's there, they're dumping off more on screens and running the ball more, and it's creating more opportunities on second and short instead of always being second and long.
They had their best drive of the game, really their only drive, because they got their touchdown on a long one-play touchdown pass, and that was it. So they had their best drive to start the second half. 5:09 to play in the third quarter, and it's Saskatchewan by 3. Giebert kicks it off and hammers it to Trevor Burke at his 18-yard line. Burke cuts back inside, but you can see that Saskatchewan was there, and he fumbles the ball, and the Saskatchewan Huskies have got it.
Greg Mamer, number 69.
The worst possible thing for Saskatchewan with injuries in the secondary. They wanted a time to rest.
Well, Trevor Burke's trying to make a lot of things happen. He's trying to move up the field. And the ball pops out right there as he's spinning. Comes right into Greg Mamer. Saskatchewan are looking at a big turnover now. St. Mary's dodged the bullet last time. But I'll tell you what, Saskatchewan has to put some points on the board.
McDonald came in the game and was lined up. He was replaced by Houston, so Houston is well enough to come in. And Houston lines up with Dan Farthing. Wide to the left. Earl throws quickly and gets it to Farthing. Farthing move inside and drives ahead. And was he ever slippery? It looked like Andre Williams had him for not much of a gain, but he picked up 8.
Well, it looks like he's going to stop him for a 1-yard loss. You're right, he picks up 8 yards. Very good athlete.
Certainly of note for St. Mary's is the fact that Houston is back in the game.
Well, I think that's what you want to try and do now is get the matchup on Dan Farthing on Houston, and it looks like he's going over to his side right now.
He is. Top of your screen, number 10, Dan Farthing. David Houston, right in his face. Houston is very aggressive. He may get beat deep, but he's not going to give up the short one. Earl, though, keeps it on the ground to Dimtrition, and he's short of a first down, actually well short. Or at least by a yard. St. Mary's, since that first half, have done a better job of shutting down the inside running game of Saskatchewan.
Well, if they go with anything but the quarterback sneak here, I would be surprised.
Would you say it's a bad call if they go with anything but the quarterback sneak?
Yes, I would.
Earl keeps it himself, and Earl has the first down. It's almost inconceivable not to make a first down in that situation.
Well, that's why most offensive coaches, when they get short down yardage, less than a yard or a yard to go, they usually take the safe route. I mean, why do you want to exchange the ball twice? You have a hard enough time sometimes in those situations in exchanging it once. Just give it back to the quarterback and let him fall ahead for the first down or the touchdown.
Big break on the turnover by Trevor Burke on the punt return. Saskatchewan had just kicked a field goal and were kicking off. And Burke turned it over at the 30-yard line, and they're now at the 18-yard line with a 1st and 10, already up by 3 with 3.5 to play in the third. Offside. Farthing cuts it back inside. Is he ever slippery? He was sliding for little gain, and then he broke it back inside and picked up 9. Let's see who moved early. I believe it may have been St. Mary's lining up offside. It was, and they'll likely decline it. He picked up about 8.5 yards. Watch on the replay. I think it's...
Yeah, you can see he's lined up offside on the top right of the screen.
Offside. 44, St. Mary's. Decline.
Eliakiliopoulos.
Farthing's real slippery, isn't he? Now, you said something last year when he scored that great touchdown run. You said that he makes his body... I don't remember exactly how you said it.
Well, it's almost like Jello. I mean, there's no resistance. He just goes with the hit. But in that play, he made a nice job to get inside of Gus Karazakis.
Farthing goes wide to the right. That's at the bottom of your screen. You can just see him, number 10 in the picture. Simchuk and Dimtrition in the backfield. Here's Dimtrition, and there's McIntosh underneath to make the tackle. He's done a nice job of supporting the run, number 14.
Well, this is the type of situation when you get 2nd and goal.
It is 2nd down and goal to go, 6.5-yard line.
This is where you want to try and roll out and make something happen. Either run bootleg action, give the quarterback a chance to get outside and give yourself a couple of options.
I see he throws it pretty fast to Dan Farthing.
Actually, it's 1st and goal.
There's Simchuk over the middle, and Simchuk down to the 1-yard line.
Now running the inside trap with Rob Simchuk. St. Mary's saw that a few times last week.
And they handled it better last week.
Take a look at Cal Hobbs, number 44. Boom, he kicks out and Paul Tonnett. And then there it is again. Don McIntosh has to come in from his halfback position to make the tackle.
Now Walcott comes out of the game, number 8. So they're having real problems with injuries. Burke moves to the corner, but it's 2nd down and goal from the 2-yard line. And Simchuk driving ahead, and is he in the end zone? No call, which means no touchdown. 3rd down and goal from the 1.
Well, down along the line of scrimmage, everybody wants to get low, and you'll see Rob Simchuk not quite into the end zone. 3rd down and 1.
They are tough down near the goal line. Ball comes out to the 1-yard line. They lead it by 3. 1:25 to play in the 3rd quarter. And Brian Towers says, let's go for the 10-point lead. St. Mary's stacks it up with all kinds of players up the middle. Earl, Simchuk does not make it into the end zone. He dropped the ball, but it doesn't matter who gets it because he didn't score. A great stand by the St. Mary's Huskies, stopping Simchuk twice, and they've got the ball at the 1. He fumbled the ball, but it didn't really make any difference. Actually, it could have worked to Saskatchewan's benefit because he wasn't getting in.
Trying to go off tackle. Gus Karazakis coming across the top, and I believe it's Brian Johnson, number 65.
Iliopoulos had a hold of him, number 44, and Johnson came up high and stuck his helmet in there and made a fine play. 1-yard line for Chris Flynn. Not great field position, but it's a lot better than giving up the score. Flynn fakes to Williams, now rolls himself. He had McDonald. Now he's going to have to try to get out of the end zone and avoid a sack, and he just does it by inches. He wanted Ian McDonald, and he was well covered by Iwanger. He actually gained a yard on the play. 2nd down and 2. Gus Karazakis. It was actually Iliopoulos that made the play. Karazakis gave a little help from the inside. But St. Mary's is not out of trouble.
Well, I'll tell you what, turnovers have killed Saskatchewan deep into St. Mary's territory today. Interceptions, now the fumble.
Let's see if they go deep to Nealon. 108 yards lie ahead of Chris Flynn. Nealon wide to the left. Jason Huell is in front of him. They throw back. Monge's there, but he's got one man to beat. One-on-one, Sean Monge rides ahead. He's close to the 1st down, and he's got it. Out past the 11-yard line. That's where he had to make it to. And Jason Huell did a nice job on Matt Nealon on that play.
Well, one of the nice things about St. Mary's offense and what helps Chris Flynn is that whenever he gets in trouble, they always slide Monge out to the wide side of the field, so he always knows that he's there. And Dan Dewar, the only guy out there, does a nice job to make sure that Sean Monge does not take it any further.
Both teams have had to contend with losing a cornerback. Jason Huell's in for Errol Brown. Brown did not play any of that 3rd quarter, which has come to an end. An entertaining 3rd quarter that saw St. Mary's score a touchdown and saw Saskatchewan have a field goal, but Larry Utek's team, I think, is very satisfied that Brian Towers went for it on 3rd down and goal and could not make it. And that big defensive stand Lins right now is the biggest play of the game. 1 quarter of football or more to play. Brian Towers' Saskatchewan Huskies lead the St. Mary's Huskies by 3 in the 26th annual Vanier Cup. Live from the Sky Dome on TSN, this is the championship game. Welcome back to the Sky Dome in Toronto, everybody. I'm Michael Landsberg along with Jamie Bone at the Sightlines Restaurant. Larry Haler, coach of the Mustangs, and Lee Pedersen.
Well, Mike, you know, as we start the 4th quarter, I think it's interesting to note every CFL player I talk to says that playing in the Sky Dome is very difficult for them because they can't breathe too well, and fatigue becomes a factor. And I know you think that's an advantage for Saskatchewan.
Well, I think it is because St. Mary plays with a very short roster, and you saw that with 80 McDonald playing the corner, a wide receiver coming in as a substitute for Houston. And they play with a short roster, and it's very dry, and the water they consume is enormous. So it's a factor, a very big factor.
All right, Larry. Michael, should be a great 4th quarter.
Thanks, Leaf. You see Leaf on the CFL broadcast with John Wells, and you see Larry Haler on the sidelines. In Vanier Cups in the past, he was here last year, and he was the winner. He's the coach of the Western Mustangs. His team beat Saskatchewan last year, lost to St. Mary's last week, so he's played both of these teams. Nealon's open, and now he's one-on-one with Huell, and he almost shrugged Huell aside. You know that they're going to isolate Jason Huell with Matt Nealon.
Oh, they are, because Errol Brown is out of the football game, one of the top corners in the nation, and they have Jason Huell, who normally plays inside halfback, now has to play the corner spot. A big difference out there because you're isolated. And it doesn't take St. Mary's very long to find Jason Huell. They're going to be going after him for the remainder of this football game.
They go after the best cornerbacks with Matt Nealon. They're certainly going to do it when there's a backup guy in there. There's McDonald, gets twisted around, but he's open. Iwanger gave him too much room, and now McDonald beats him and turns it ahead for a gain of 21 and a first down.
Well, you're hitting the nail right in the head. Too much room. You can't give St. Mary's receivers a 12 or 13-yard cushion. You take a look at it from up top. He just puts it out there. Dean Iwanger's not even in the picture.
I mean, he had time to get his shoulders squared up, if I can talk like you, Jamie. And
that's right. Well, I mean, he caught the ball 12 yards downfield, and then by the time he came into any player with the opposite color jersey, he was 15, 16 yards downfield. You had to play him a bit tighter than that.
Chris Flynn now 11 of 22, plenty of yards, so his yards per pass is up. And now he's going to run. Ball gets a couple of nice blocks on the outside, and he almost turned the corner, and then he almost fumbled the ball. That's close to a fumble. Saskatchewan says they should get it, but I think it's a good call for St. Mary's to retain possession.
Well, this is run all the way. With Chris Flynn, they just pull the guard outside. Mike Korecki, he kicks out, and then Flynn cuts it all the way back across.
Now watch what Giebert does here. He tries to strip him of the ball.
Actually, I believe it's going to be Dan Dewar. Yeah, he tries to strip him of the ball. That is a fumble. Now our vision was blocked by the official.
I think the official's probably happy that our vision was blocked. First and 10. The drive began at their own 1. They're now at the 41 of Saskatchewan. Mongie stops. He drops the ball. That ball's live. Dewar had a shot last time, and this time he may score. 30, 25, 23-yard line. Dewar was so close to getting the last one from Flynn this time.
And now Dewar is very glad that the official did not call that last one a fumble, because field position they have now is a lot better than they would have had. But they're trying to run counter trap, bring it backside, the draw, bring it back inside. Ball just gets stripped by Kim Paslowski. And then Dan Dewar picks it up. The only guy to save it is Chris Flynn, the quarterback for St. Mary's.
Tell you, it's lucky that Chris Flynn has the speed he has. He outran the defensive back and ran him down. But still, Dewar takes it down to the 23-yard line. 13-14 to play in the fourth quarter. Saskatchewan by 3. St. Mary's was coming back and appeared to be driving for some points that might even tie the game or go ahead. But they fumbled the ball, and fumbles and turnovers have been the key. Burrow flips it out of the backfield. Simchek's open. He's a good receiver. And he beats Karazakis and takes it inside the 5-yard line. Beautiful running by Rob Simchek.
Well, that's one thing about Rob Simchek. He's the type of back that you're not going to take down with just hitting him. I mean, he's 5'11", 190 pounds, pretty stocky, but Gus Karazakis just tries to give him the old shoulder, the chicken wing shoulder, and that's not going to do it for you. He's a tough, tough running back.
He took it right to the 5-yard line. David Earl, did he take a timeout? Somebody did, because Earl is heading over to the bench. Rob Simchek has had a good day, just 4 carries for 50 yards. He fumbled it at the 1-yard line, but he's brought this one down to the 5 for Brian Towers. 12:52 to play in the fourth quarter, and Towers' Huskies lead it by 3 with possibly more to come. A look at a more than just a little bit concerned St. Mary's bench, because the Huskies trail it by 3, and Saskatchewan's in a position to go off by 10. They have the ball, first down and goal from the 5-yard line. 12:52 to play. St. Mary's had a splendid drive going. It started at their 1-yard line, but the fumble by Mongie, and Saskatchewan's in great position. And Earl keeps it himself. Now that's a play you were calling for on 3rd and short. Interesting, on 1st and 5, they go with it.
Well, you see what they're trying to do is they get everybody at man covered, St. Mary's, and they try running all the backs out of the backfield, and they try and spread everybody out, thinking that they're going to try and throw the football. So the linebackers are man-to-man on the running backs. They should get those linebackers out, and then Earl's thinking I can squeak through that little hole.
I may be wrong, but I think they have to pass to get it into the end zone. We saw against Western last week, they're real tough at their goal line.
Yeah, they are. Or I think what we said down here earlier, they have to give some type of play-action pass and get Earl outside, because he does have the speed that he can take it in himself, but you want to give him the option.
Everybody out of the backfield now. Earl keeps only Simchek in to block. Looks into the end zone. Now he's going to try to run into the end zone. David Earl, touchdown. He had everybody covered.
And he's just smart enough to know that that meant that there would probably be some room up the middle.
Well, he gets a pretty good pass for us. They turn Chalmers outside and Noah Cantor outside, and then he just sees that hole, and he just takes it straight up.
David Earl, a 5-yard touchdown run, has given St. Mary's big trouble. They now trail it by 9, and Giebert is in to try to make it 10. Larry Utek's team has not been in the position of coming from behind many times. We questioned whether that would be a problem last week, and it certainly was no problem. But they're in a position now where they trail it by 10, which is worse position than they were in late last week. 12:07 to play. Giebert makes it a 10-point lead. Gord Miller's on the sidelines. What do you have, Gord?
That big offensive touchdown set up by the biggest defensive player of the game so far, Dan Dewar. What happened?
Fortunately, they just did a draw play. My job's to contain, and Kim Paslowski came up, made a great hit. I thought I had time to pick up the ball, so instead of diving on it, I picked it up and ran. I hope it was the wideout, not the offensive tackle that got me.
Thanks, Danny. Dan Dewar's going to go back in the ball game, but in his 5th year with the Huskies, he turns in the biggest play of his career. Back upstairs.
Actually, it was Chris Flynn that ran him down.
That's right. So we can take a little bit of solace in that.
Although, in general, if it was anyone else, a defensive back wouldn't like to be run down by a quarterback, would he?
No, but I think it'd be worse if he was run down by an offensive tackle or an offensive lineman.
Now, would guys have been insulted if you ran him down?
I think so.
Of course, you never threw an interception that you had to run anyone down, right?
Or if I did, I never went after the guy, right?
Saskatchewan's in great position now. 24-14. You saw, well, I was going to say a concerned look on Larry Utek's face. He always looks concerned, so it's hard to say. Difference this year than last. Last year, this Saskatchewan Husky team was basically out of it early in the 4th quarter, but now it's Larry Utek's team that is forced to reach in and see what they got. McDonald will field it. He had a good game against Western, returning 4 kicks. But Saskatchewan does a good job to cover the kick, and the 32-yard line is where they begin.
You can really see the swing and motion just on the kickoff return, can you?
Scoring drive was set up on the Dewar fumble recovery. 3 plays, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. The key was the 5-yard run by David Earl for the touchdown. And Saskatchewan now leads by 10 with just over 12 minutes to play. Errol Brown will not be back in this game, so if there's something that St. Mary's can focus in on, and there certainly are a lot of things that they can focus in on with their outstanding ability to score points. As you can see what David Earl has done on the ground, it's the fact that there is a makeshift secondary in there. They've lost the starting cornerback, and that's got to be a coach's worst fear, is to lose a cornerback.
Yeah, because you're so isolated up there and all alone, and tell you need some.
Especially when you got McDonald and Nealon that you can send out there. Flynn calls an audible at the line of scrimmage. Then Saskatchewan shifts. Here's Monge, and Monge's, well, his gain is only 4. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Now, I noticed what Saskatchewan was doing there. Flynn took the mouth guard out, make the call, and then they went and shifted.
That's it, exactly. We talked about that last week and how Western's defense, or any team that actually plays defense against St. Mary's, should not do anything or show anything that they're going to do in a preset until Chris Flynn puts that mouthpiece in his mouth, because he doesn't put his hands underneath the center, and everybody knows that you can't snap the ball until, and you see them shift down there again.
Nealon, open, 1st down. Well thrown by Chris Flynn. He did not have much of a margin of error there, and he should have the 1st down.
You see Chris Flynn, and they played 2 plays ago, calling the audible. Now the defense doesn't have to get ready to play until he puts his hands underneath the center. Now he can't do both because he has a mouthpiece that hangs from his face mask. Most quarterbacks, you saw David Earl earlier, they have a mouthpiece that fits in there permanently throughout the game. They don't take it out.
Why would Flynn use that?
I'm not sure why, just a personal preference, but it has an effect because see them shift again.
They do. As soon as he puts it in, they shift. Flynn looks, feels a lot of pressure, now throws it, underthrows it for Matt Nealon. Nealon was breaking back to the ball. Nice job by Iwanger to cover him, and St. Mary's is in real danger. 2nd and 10 now.
Matt Nealon running the out and up. Trying to get the ball deep to him, but actually pretty good coverage from the back. Dean Iwanger was baiting, I think, Chris Flynn on that one.
But the out and up can't really work very well if the guy's playing that far off the ball.
That's exactly it, yeah. Dean Iwanger's not biting on anything short.
Don't be surprised if they come right back to Matt Nealon. That's him, number 70 at the top of the screen. Flynn looks, it's a screen pass, and Saskatchewan Does not shut it down. I thought initially they were in good position, but the screen works again. The only blocker leading the way was number 42, Mike Korecki.
Well, they run the slot back screen this time. They have all the motion going to the left. They leave Anthony Williams in from the backside. And then he pump fakes it and puts it back inside to Anthony Williams, and he gets a first down.
No huddle offense. First time that we've seen that from St. Mary's. 1st and 10. 44-yard line, 54-yard line. Nealon's wide open. Now he's going to try to beat Heel one-on-one, and he does it enough to pick up a first down.
Well, St. Mary's are very smart to take what Saskatchewan is giving them. They're giving him that short 10-yard out, 11-yard out, and he loves to go to Matt Nealon. He puts the ball outside. You see Mark Lutke, number 18, inside for the tackle, as well as Jason Huell.
Flynn now calling everything at the line of scrimmage, and Huell is way off Matt Nealon. They got to go for the quick pass here. It's a screen pass, almost intercepted. It is. Flynn threw a bad one, intercepted by Scott Hunseth, and Saskatchewan in a position to go up big. They lead it by 10, 9:52 to play.
Well, you can only go to the well so often. You'll see number 77, Scott Hunseth, at 6'5". He stays at home with Sean Monge, and he makes the interception. But you can see Don Bristow, 68. He recognized it right away as well. And they all started to peel off. Hunseth stayed at home. And another big turnover for the Saskatchewan Huskies.
I was surprised they went away from Nealon. I mean, Huell was playing. Had to be a good 18 yards off the ball.
Well, the screen was working pretty well as well, but I guess you can't go to it too often.
Past tense is the way you talk about it, working pretty well. It didn't work there, and as a result, Saskatchewan's got a 10-point lead and a chance for more. Dimtrition to the outside, and he picks up 9.
Well, you're going to see Don Bristow at the bottom of your screen, reverse angle, and then Hunseth goes way up.
And I don't even know who he was throwing to there.
He was trying to get it to Sean Monge, but I think
over his head.
It was because he felt that Bristow was in on him, and Bristow was trying to turn. He popped it way up high. He might have been trying to throw it away.
Hunseth tipped it once. I said almost intercepted, and then he got it back. Was that ever a big interception? Scott Hunseth with his first interception of the year, probably first ever. He's only in his, well, actually he's in his 5th year, so maybe he had one. 2nd down and 1. Simchuk slides off. He dropped the ball, but then got it back. St. Mary's would love a fumble. He's got a first down. See if he loses control of the ball here.
Trying to run trap inside, Xing it with Cal Hobbs. Nice job.
Nope.
By St. Mary's, but not enough. As Saskatchewan get another first down.
St. Mary's is in big trouble. They trail it by 10, 8:51 to play, and Saskatchewan's got the ball at the 48-yard line. St. Mary's maybe can afford to give up a field goal, but certainly not a touchdown. And Earl happy to take plenty of time. Dimtrition cuts back and picks up 5. It'll be 2nd and 5. McIntosh did a nice job to string that one out as well. The thing that's killed Brian Towers' team so far is turnovers, and you imagine he's going to be fairly conservative now.
I think so. I think the running game is back on track. I mean, they're very happy with that. If you can get 4 or 5 yards anyway on the first down, causes all sorts of problems with defense, because now you can either run the football, you can throw it, you can do a lot of different things. It opens up your offense.
Farthing wide to the right, Walcott's there. That's a good combination, a good matchup. Keep it on the ground. Dimtrition follows Simchuk, and Dimtrition made it to the 40-yard line, but he's about 1.5 yards short. And here's a tough call by Brian Towers. The line of scrimmage is just inside the 40. It would be a 47-yard field goal, so likely too long. And Towers has got to make a call here. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a timeout and talked about it.
That's what he's going to do.
Biggest call of the game so far, because 3rd down gambles have not worked well.
You told me it's a yard last year. 2 yards. How far is it? Exactly. I know exactly. How far, Danny? All right. Tell these guys to go get
While
this
Brian Towers ponders it, Lee Pedersen and Larry Haler standing by.
Well, Michael, I think this is the first major decision for Brian Towers this afternoon. Larry, you were faced with the same problem last week. What do you do?
Well, you know, I think I'd go right here, but you know, the truth is, it's a lot easier here than there. This is not a tough call.
No, it's an easy call. Brian, you got to go for it. Michael?
Well, one coach says go for it. The man he coached and coached with, Jamie Bone, says.
Well, you have to go for it here as well, because ball control is everything at this point in the football game. With 7 minutes and 30 seconds left, you do not want to get the ball back into Chris Flynn's hands. You have to control it. It's a big play in the football game.
So you're saying don't try not to lose it, try to win it.
That's exactly it, Michael.
This is it. They lead it by 10. 7:31 to play in the regulation portion of this football game. But there will be no overtime if Saskatchewan can keep this drive alive. They need about 1.5 yards. Simchuk and Dintrition in behind Earl. The right guard moves early. This is a freebie for St. Mary's, and they don't get it. They can decline this penalty, and St. Mary's would take over on downs.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan declined. First down, St. Mary's.
If the Saskatchewan Huskies don't win the Vanier Cup, the thing that will have killed them is not first down, second down, but third downs.
Okay, well, you can see right here, they're outnumbered. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But take a look at the people in here. They've got 4 across here. They got 6. Now, Hobbs is going to be the guy who moves offside inside here. You see Hobbs moves number 44. He just outnumbered inside to run that kind of offensive play.
Back to the action. Flynn throws to McDonald, and McDonald beats Jason Hill and picks up the first down. You want a team that has dodged bullets? Look at St. Mary's. Last week against the Western Mustangs, the Mustangs scored what was the touchdown that put them up by 9 points, called back because of holding. Here, Saskatchewan is driving for a touchdown that would put this one out of reach, and they hold on again, so they're still alive.
But you make your own breaks on those kind of plays, because 3rd down and 1, they did not get the first down. Saskatchewan was hoping, whether or not they had the penalty or not, they wanted the penalty because they would like to kick it away.
Inside handoff to Anthony Williams, and he is swarmed over. Scott Hunseth all over him. Hunseth, a force in this 4th quarter. Clock continues to roll. Hunseth had 5 sacks, number 2 on the team. 6'5", 240 in his 5th year.
Well, he did a nice job there because they're trying to run counter and they're trying to pull with Korecki and McLean. As soon as he saw the guard and tackle try to pull, he shot through that gap and did not allow Anthony Williams to get into the hole.
St. Mary's needs to score twice. They trail it by 10 with 6:15 to play. The matchup they want is McDonald against Huell. They come back to Nealon, and the pass is knocked away, and they're going to call pass interference. I can't figure that out. I thought Iwanger made an outstanding play.
Well, I thought he made an outstanding play as well. And we're going to take a look at it and be the judge at home. Going on the score out all the way. I don't like the call. I think that was very well played. I don't think he played any better.
Reverse angle. That's a good play by Iwanger.
It's a great play by Dean Iwanger, and that's just too bad.
I mean, he made contact at exactly the time when the ball hit Nealon's hands, and he simply slapped it away.
Yeah, he was playing the ball. He stuck his hand in there. And everybody's looking at it here on the Jumbotron, and they're all booing, as you can hear.
Brian Towers leading the way, I think, in the boos. He didn't like the call. 1st and 10, St. Mary's. They get a break. 48-yard line, quarterback draw, and Flynn couldn't slip out of the reach of number 61, Rob Dutton. The front 3 of Saskatchewan has played a very, very good football game, and in particular, 4th quarter. And Larry Utek knows it. Flynn went into the hurry-up before for Larry Utek, and 5:28 to play and the clock counting. Would you like to see him go back to that?
I think so, because time is against St. Mary's right now with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the game. They have to get their offense moving.
Nealon wide open for the easy reception, but he drops the ball. Nealon had it and dropped it, and Iwanger made him pay.
Well, Matt Nealon was looking at what he was going to do after he caught the football. He started to look upfield. Now watch how when the ball comes, he takes his head off of it and he starts looking upfield. I think you heard Dean Iwanger coming in, and he just wanted to try and get the ball and try and cut inside, and maybe he could go with a big game. But it's a nice comeback by Dean Iwanger.
Under 5 minutes to play in regulation. 3rd down and 7, and St. Mary's says, hey, let's go for it. Flynn feels initial pressure, then throws over the middle, and he completes it to Nealon. Oh, yes, the best, certainly most important pass of the game so far for Chris Flynn.
Well, we talked at the beginning of the show. We said Chris Flynn loves pressure. He thrives on it. He can't get in more pressure situations than this in a big game. Third down and long.
And he's got to get rid of it.
And he just waits and waits and waits. You know he's going to Nealon all the way, and a great strike and a great catch by Matt Nealon. Dean Iwanger again right there. Ground level. Bistro thinks it's screen number 68, but he's going downfield with it.
1st and 10. They dodge a big one there, 29-yard line. Flynn feels the rush, steps up, fakes, and is inside the 20-yard line. That's about where he had to get for the first down. He may have come up a foot short. And now Rob Dutton is down, grabbing his knee. So St. Mary's somehow has found a way to stay alive. St. Mary's Huskies trail it by 10, but they've got the ball inside the 20-yard line with 4.5 to play. Rob Dutton's off the field. He's on the bench just in behind Gord Miller. Gord.
Seeing about 5 minutes ago, the Saskatchewan Huskies had kind of started their celebration after they scored that touchdown. They were high-fiving each other and getting ready to celebrate the championship, but all of a sudden St. Mary's is right back in it. They're looking a little nervous right now.
2nd down and inches, and here's a play, maybe a free one for Chris Flynn to go one of his fine receivers. Nealon wide to the right at the bottom, McDonald wide to the left. And he fakes there, and he looks for Nealon on the post, and then goes to McDonald. Touchdown! Oh, yes, Flynn right on the money there. And have we got a finish?
The Magic Man, Chris Flynn. Just another trick into that big bag that he has. Ian McDonald, you just saw the ball just go by the screen, perfectly thrown, lays out and makes the catch.
And look where they went after. They went after Jason Huell, a safety playing corner, and Milan Kasic, a guy from the bench, playing for the first time this year. And Kasic couldn't get over. Was that his responsibility?
Well, they were man coverage down, I think, at that particular time because Jason Huell was right after him the whole way. But they might have had the safety free, and you're right. If he's safety free, he's got to get back in the coverage and make sure that no receiver is deeper than he is.
Well, there was one receiver deeper than him, and it was as there'll be a penalty against Saskatchewan, unsportsmanlike conduct. That'll be marked on the kickoff. And maybe one of the stories there was where Flynn was looking. He looked for Nealon all the way and then went back to McDonald. That might have influenced the inside guys.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there, Michael, because Chris Flynn is a smart player, and I think that was a great call in 2nd and short because they ran play action pass, they had man coverage, and boom, he just took it up top.
You just knew it was coming, didn't you? 2nd and inches, teams down by 10. You got the biggest gambler of all times at quarterback, and yes, he went to the air. And it's 24-21, 4:04 to play, and I should say to play in the regulation.
We are back at the Sky Dome. The St. Mary's Huskies, with 4 minutes remaining, have made this a close one. They only trail by 3. Larry, how about that touchdown? Chris Flynn, he's something else.
Well, a backside post, play action one way and throw it back the other way. And if you look at the replay, who other than Chris Flynn can put the ball perfectly in that location? Watch him run to the football almost as if he's just running to a spot and making a great catch. It's Chris Flynn time, and I think the scary thing for Saskatchewan right now is, boy, the last 4 minutes are where Chris Flynn works his magic, and there's a lot of pressure on Saskatchewan right now and David Earl.
All right, coming up for a big finish, Michael.
We're lucky to have Larry Haler here because he knows exactly what a big finish they can come up with. Ian McDonald beat Jason Huell, not a natural quarterback. Moved from the inside in the injury to Errol Brown, and he beat him to the post, as Larry Haler said, on the backside. And this is a 3-point football game. Dim Trition at his 1-yard line. And what a return that is to the 41. 40 yards of important field position for Saskatchewan. The scoring drive, and what a key one for St. Mary's. 8 plays, 70 yards, 5 through the air. The key, the 19-yard touchdown pass to Ian McDonald on 2nd down and inches. And as a result, they trail it by 3.
And the key play to start that drive was that 3rd and short attempt by Saskatchewan, which failed. St. Mary's got the ball back, all pumped up, and they went down the field and scored. 5 catches, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. I think you'd rather play wide receiver than corner.
Farthing wide to the right. Excuse me, Farthing in the slot, and Earl takes too long. And that might be the last thing that you want to do at this point.
Yeah, all the momentum's with St. Mary's right now.
Too long putting the ball to play, number 8, Saskatchewan. We first down repeated.
And you brought up a good point earlier, Michael, is that you can't sit back and hope to win it, or excuse me, play to lose, play to hold on right now. You've got to go out there and play to win it. If you sit back here, if Saskatchewan sits back here right now, St. Mary's will win this football game.
A word of warning for Brian Towers from Jamie Bone. Try to win it because they lead it by only 3. First down and 15. Farthing is in the slot to the left, just out of the screen, and they fake to Dan Farthing. Big rush. McIntosh is there. Has he played a football game?
Well, they're trying to fake the reverse, and then Cal Hobbs comes outside. Now, I'm not sure if that was run all the way or not, because it looked like David Earl should have stepped up inside of Cal Hobbs' block. He's not taking the angle that one would take if Earl was going to run outside. He's going to try and kick out McIntosh. I think Earl is going to try and pull up and throw the football.
I like the game Don McIntosh has played, particularly against the run. What a sack. And what is Saskatchewan left with here? Second down and 23. 4 receivers to the right. Simchuk stays in the block, as does Dintrition. They're happy if Earl's going to run because he's not going to make 23 yards. St. Mary's more than happy to give that, and he gets out of bounds, which stops the clock. You almost think that we set it up because it's just the way you want it. 2:40 to play. St. Mary's down by 3.
Well, we said last week you couldn't have written the script any better than that. St. Mary's scoring with 8 seconds left in the game against Western. Looks like we're going to have that same type of finish this afternoon.
Now contrast what Saskatchewan just did to what St. Mary's did when they had the ball last time. They were all pumped up and enthusiastic and drove the ball down for a touchdown. Saskatchewan comes out and ends up taking too long, then Earl gets sacked, and then he runs when St. Mary's was happy.
Yeah, you can't have mental errors at this time in the football game. You have to be very, very disciplined, and most championship teams are.
The Husky crowd is into it. Nice kick by Rita. Oh, that's a beautiful kick. McDonald inside his 25 at the 24. It's return left, but nothing there, so they won't get an easy one. Let's go to sightlines.
All right, 2:23 remaining. Larry Haler, you have a feeling. What's going to happen?
Well, I think it's crunch time for the Saskatchewan defense. They've been patient. They've been poised. They've really looked for the opportunities and tried to create mistakes. And now it's Chris Flynn time. And it'll be interesting to see whether their poise and their patience hold up now with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. It's going to be a great finish.
It really is. I tell you what, we got a great Vanier Cup going, 1990 edition.
2:22 to play in regulation. It's a 3-point lead. St. Mary's has the ball on its 27-yard line. Saskatchewan has Errol Brown on the bench. He's out with a bad knee. That means Jason Hewitt plays cornerback for Brian Towers. And little roll of the eyes there from Brian Towers. Larry Utek has the sleeves rolled up, and he is ready for business. Well, they have, I believe, gone with 6 defensive backs. Yes, they do. 6 defensive backs in for Saskatchewan. Flynn comes out, throws for Neal, and could be picked off. Oh, I'll tell you what, Iwanger read that play right from the snap.
I'll tell you, that was a great defensive play by Dean Iwanger. Now, the ball was well thrown because it was over his head. And Matt Nealon almost came up with a great defensive play. Or offensive play. Drills the ball out here, but Iwanger jumps this.
Oh. You know, if Flynn had thrown that soft the way he does sometimes, this game's over.
That's right, because you know what? Matt Nealon turns it upfield. And he's gone a long way.
Or the other way.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, if he underthrows that at all, it's an easy score for Iwanger. That's the first time that he's played that close to Nealon. Still a lot of time for a lot of different things to happen. St. Mary's doesn't have to score on this drive. 2:24 to play, and the clock is stopped. This time Iwanger backs way off Matt Nealon. Flynn rolls to McDonald's side. He throws to McDonald. It's up high, and he can't bring it down. It's out of bounds. Jason Hill did a good job to cover him there. And Larry Utek's going to have to punt it away and rely on his defense. Saskatchewan offense has got to do something to help itself. They have done very little.
They need a few first downs here right now. Now, I don't believe St. Mary's have taken any timeouts in the second half. They still have both of theirs left. So they can use them now to stop the clock when Saskatchewan has the ball on offense.
St. Mary's, like Saskatchewan, has punted the ball very, very efficiently so far. Dana Sagan has averaged more than 36 yards a kick. 2:17 to play. And you know, and Gord Miller has just reported to us that Saskatchewan is looking for some kind of trick play here.
Fumblerooski was the play that they used so effectively against Western and McGill a couple of years ago. I think he'll kick it away. The way Saskatchewan has shown a lack of offense. Seguin, pretty good kick. Farthing's at his 42. And Farthing's out to the 50-yard line. Well, Saskatchewan will begin with 2:07 to play. The watch and win sweepstakes has gone on all season long. Big prize today. It goes to Carol Jasenko of Toronto. When you win a car, you probably don't mind if a guy pronounces your name wrong. She wins the 1991 Isuzu Impulse and $1,000 of Esso gasoline. The watch and win sweepstakes winner, Carol Jasenko of Toronto. Now, she was in attendance at this game, I believe. 50-yard line, Saskatchewan begins. They need a couple of first downs to run the clock out. Everybody to the right. Earl's thinking run. He's not even considering passing, and he's out of bounds.
I mean, this is just not smart offense right now by Saskatchewan. The last thing in the world that Brian Towers wants is your players to run out of bounds, because St. Mary's don't have to blow a timeout. He could have blown off here probably another 20-25 seconds. They clear everybody out of the backfield, and David Earl's going to run the football, but he doesn't turn it up. Hook slide, do something, but don't go out of bounds.
He gets out of bounds, and he loses 5 yards in the process. And Brian Towers' offense is going in the wrong direction. And they've lost yardage their last 2 possessions.
And you know, Chris Flynn sitting on the sideline saying, just give me one more chance.
One more chance, baby. One more. 2nd and 15. And they run. Dimtrition. Not going to make it. And look who's there. Don McIntosh. He's got to be a potential MVP of this game. Don McIntosh has played super.
Not only that, he calls the timeout as well. He's got his head into the football game.
Oh, he had his head into that play as well. He just submarined it.
I'll tell you what, he makes the play here. I mean, they're running the ball outside on the toss. They're leading with Simchuk, but he comes up and contains. See how he gets outside leverage? He has to force Dimtrition to come inside.
You said something a while ago, and you said if you're Brian Towers, you got to try to win it. Don't try not to lose it. And really, they have been very conservative.
They have been. Now, St. Mary's are playing everybody up tight on the line of scrimmage. They think that Saskatchewan's going to run the ball. That was correct. That clock should have been down now to at least 1 minute and maybe 30 seconds, or it would have forced St. Mary's to blow another timeout. But the ball is going to get back into Chris Flynn's hands, and that's the last thing that man wants right there.
Pass me the Rolaids. I don't mean me, I mean Brian Towers. I mean, his stomach's got to be acting up. He's got a 3-point lead with 1:58 to play. But his defense will face the greatest quarterback maybe ever in the CIAU. 3-time Heck Crichton Award winner, Chris Flynn. Can he lead him back? Just ask Larry Haler and the Western Mustangs. Rush up the middle, and the kick by Reeder goes to Burke at the 34. Burke stops, and then is content to drive ahead to the 40-yard line. Now, if you're thinking about the field goal kicker, David Sykes is not a great field goal kicker. Hit about 1/3 of his kicks over the season. His longest was from 30 yards.
That's right. He was only 5 of 12 this year, and last week he attempted to hit a 15-yarder, but missed a 30-yarder. I don't think Larry Utek wants it to come down to him having to kick a field goal to tie this football game up. I'm sure that he would like to keep it with the money man, Chris Flynn, to pull this game out for him, as he has done so many times.
Attendance about 7,000 under last year, but considering St. Mary's came from Halifax, Saskatchewan from Saskatoon, no hometown audience, I think they're probably pretty pleased with that. 1st and 10, St. Mary's. They throw to McDonald, and McDonald makes the catch and then goes out of bounds. Steele was there pretty close on the play. You'd imagine that that play will be available as much as they want it.
And you know what? And they should keep taking it, because if Saskatchewan are going to give that to them, they can get out of bounds. It stops the clock. They don't have to worry about their timeouts. You know, I think Chris Flynn has enough time, 1 minute and 46 seconds left, and he's going to use the clock wisely. He's been around a number of years. He knows what it's all about.
This time it's Nealon wide to the left. Clock is stopped. 2nd down and a long 3. Monge up the middle. 1st down. Sean Monge. Yes, he's there when they called his name. He is a good running back.
Stop tackle. They kick out with Calvin Scott, number 34, and then Monge tries to squeak up inside. But look who's up there. Phil Giebert, number 19.
Nealon to the bottom. Boy, Iwanger lays way off Matt Nealon. Let's see if they take the easy one. Flynn's going to run. Chris Flynn stops and comes up about a half-yard short of the 1st down. Now remember, last time when they were on 2nd down and a half-yard, Larry Utek's team went backside post, as Larry Haler put it, for the touchdown to Ian McDonald. You got to figure this is pass.
Why not? Yes, I think 2nd and 1.
Iwanger way off on Nealon. Huel up a little tighter on McDonald, but they run the ball. I'm surprised at that. Wow. 47-yard line is the line of scrimmage. I was watching on the last 3 plays. Nealon came wide to the right, and Iwanger was a good 15 yards off him. Let's go to sidelines for Larry and Leaf.
Thank you, Michael. You know, Larry, I mean, this is the way a Vanier Cup should be. Coming right down, a few seconds left. Chris Flynn, the 3-time Heck Crichton winner, going for his first Vanier Cup. Can't get any better, can it?
No, it was scripted. I think the people in TSN worked on this. Didn't they lay for it upstairs right in the script? No, it's a great game, great finish.
You know what? When we have this opportunity, I want to thank you for being with us on this broadcast. You've done a great job.
No place I'd rather be if I couldn't be on the field.
All right.
1st and 10, 48-yard line. Flynn, lots of time, steps up, then steps back, then steps up, and then goes down. Sacked. Right at the line of scrimmage.
Don Bristow. Outside linebacker. Flynn tries that patent move coming up, drawing everybody in, and then he tries to go outside, but Bristow kept pretty good leverage on him and then slid off.
He almost dropped the ball, too. Almost dropped the ball. 48-yard line. Flynn huddles them this time. He's taking some time. Clock is ticking. Inside 50 seconds. Saskatchewan leads it by 3. Taking all kinds of time. Matt Nealon wide to the left. Is that where they're going?
That's where they're going.
Time with his first catch of the game, but it's a gain of only 1. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Well, they ran Nealon on the quick post, and David Time goes outside. Jason Huel does a nice job of coming off with a wide receiver because he had coverage inside. Boom, and he knocks him out of bounds for only a gain of 1 yard.
That means they were in zone, right?
That's right. Oh, yeah, they're in zone defense. They're not going to be playing man at this stage of the ball.
Here we go. 3rd down and 9 yards to go. St. Mary's trails it by 3. 36 seconds to play. It's all on the line here. He throws to Nealon. 1st down. Matt Nealon, they're still alive.
Chris Flynn has ice flowing through his veins, folks. So much pressure on him. And he always continues to deliver the goods.
And when you turn in a time of need, you always turn to a friend. These guys are best buddies. They play together in Buckingham, Quebec, and they play together on this play.
And they're quick in it. You know, Nealon does such a nice job because he gets into the zone and he stops. He doesn't run through it. Do you think Larry Utek knows what he's going to do? I'm not so sure either. I think you just have to let Flynn be Flynn and improvise. They have to throw the football down the field, though. Still, they're 37 yards away. They're not going to run it.
30 seconds and counting. Flynn looks deep for Matt Nealon. Nealon breaks, and he was pretty well covered. He got by Huel, but Giebert moved over.
Pretty well covered isn't going to do it for you, though, because Giebert was, in fact, beat, and he's the safety, deep safety. He cannot allow Matt Nealon to get deeper than him. Now, you see Nealon splits the seam here between Huel, 16. Now, watch 19. You can see the back of his sweater. He's beat. The ball's there. That's a touchdown.
And when he came to St. Mary's, all he wanted was to win that man and himself a championship. Never done it. He's done everything else. 3 Heck Crichton trophies. The dominant player in the country. But he's 26 seconds away from something. He rolls out. Now he's going to drop the ball. Saskatchewan, if they pick it up, they'll win it. Now they drop the ball. It's still free. Saskatchewan's got it. The Saskatchewan Huskies will win the Vanier Cup.
Players in Canadian college football history. It's a sad way to end it for Chris Flynn. He's done everything today to keep the St. Mary's football team in the ball game. Now they run play action pass, and he comes outside. Now he's looking at McDonald the whole way. McDonald goes deep, and then he comes back inside. Now Bristow comes from the backside all the way, and he causes the fumble. Now Greg Mamer tries to jump on it. The ball's spinning around. Now he gets stripped away from Mamer, but there's no other Huskies there left. Rob Dutton comes up with the biggest play of his career.
And you know, you talk about what caused the fumble. Iwanger's coverage on Ian McDonald. Let's see what it was. That was the key. He came off the ball looking for Ian McDonald. Dean Iwanger was covering him.
Now he's looking inside. Now he's going to turn outside, but Dean Iwanger was right on him.
Right on him.
And he also has some pretty good help behind him. from Milan Kasic. He did have the angle on him.
By the time he broke deep there, the fumble had actually already happened. But you could see the celebrations on the Saskatchewan bench. Wow, what a finish. Yes, they were in great position to do it. Clock is running now. Second down, and the clock will run out on the Saskatchewan Huskies. For the first time ever, are Vanier Cup champions. And they did it by stopping the greatest quarterback ever in Chris Flynn. Flynn came so close to bringing him back, but a key fumble late in the game, and Brian Towers gets drenched. And he's happy to do so. What a tough loss for Chris Flynn. Oh, my, what a tough loss.
Yeah, he's done everything in university football that you could ask. He's won all the awards, number of Atlantic Bowls. A real shame if you're a Chris Flynn fan, regardless if you're a Chris Flynn fan, you have to really feel for him. He's done a lot to bring the profile of football up across this country and also, and specifically in the Atlantic provinces.
He's a fabulous player.
And let's hope he has a long professional career.
David Earl played an efficient game, I think you could say, for Saskatchewan. Certainly not spectacular, but David Earl is the winner. And that's got to feel pretty good right now. David Earl and the Saskatchewan Huskies defeat Chris Flynn and the St. Mary's Huskies. And they do it in dramatic fashion. Here was the situation. That team, St. Mary's, was in position to try to tie it or win it. They drove the ball down the field, but pressure from Bistro in behind, and Chris Flynn fumbled, and as a result, David Earl, Saskatchewan Huskies win the championship.